Rakta Yahushua.
Rakta Yahushua.
Rakta Yahweh.
Rakta Yahweh.
Rakta Yahushua.
Rakta Yahushua.
A double honor to the apostles, the elders, and salutations to you sincere brothers, teaching in truth and in sincerity. We're back on the highways and the byways to let the so-called Negroes, the so-called Latino tribes, and the so-called Native American Indians that they make up the house of Israel. All right? Get John 17 and 17.
Sanctify through thy truth, thy word is true.
God, we have a special guest, of course, Apostle Ramla.
John 17, verse 17. It says, sanctify them through thy truth, thy word is true.
God, read that again, huh?
Sanctify them through thy truth, thy word is true.
All right, right. So when you sanctify a person in truth, it means like you're purifying internally their spirit. Okay, so you purify a person from the internal standpoint to renew their spirit. Okay, so what can do that? Ephesians 5 and 26. Go ahead.
Right, John 4, verse 24. The Most High is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
Right, so the Most High is a spirit, and you have to worship him in truth, man. Okay, and what's the truth? That, hey, he only died, well, Yahushua only died for the nation of Israel, man.
And what's the spirit? Spirit is the word.
The word. Come. You got something? Bring it up.
Somebody gets John 6:63.
Right
Oh, you got it? Okay.
John chapter 6, verse 63. You say, it is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing.
Right, so when something is quickening, it's to be made alive from a spiritual standpoint. And what are you coming alive from? The congregation of the dead, man. Go ahead, bro.
It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing.
Hey, the flesh profiteth nothing. That's why when you come into the truth, you have to be born again, man. Okay? So that's the only way you can be born again, by being baptized by the Spirit, which is the Word, man. All right, you got something, bro?
The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life.
Right, and that's how we're going to attain eternal life in the kingdom, because, hey, the laws, statutes, and the commandments are going to be placed in our... That doesn't make you clean. You have to be clean by the word, man. And the only way this can happen, you have to be baptized within the scriptures, man. Because when you're baptized, it means you are immersed in something or engulfed in something. And what is that something? The scriptures, man. All right, now go back to John 17 and 17 and bring out Psalms 119 and 9.
It's back in John 17, verse 17. Sanctify them through thy truth, thy word is truth.
So when you're sanctifying something, you're purified internally, all right, by renewing the spirit. And what is that? Via the word, all right? Hey, Psalms 119 and 9.
It is Psalms 119 and 9. Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his way, by taking the heed thereto according to thy word.
Right. You are cleansed by taking heed to the word, man. All right? There's only one truth, man. And this is the truth, okay? And our people have become degenerates, man. All right? Now, the brother has sent me a video, and you had like this family, okay? Now, basically what this man and this woman was doing, they were open to becoming swingers. Well, they actually were swingers, and what did they do? They have adopted this philosophy within their lifestyles, okay? And also, they were teaching the benefits of basically being the goddamn swingers, man. Our people don't supposed to be involved in that type of shit. The man's supposed to have multiple wives as long as that woman is not married to another man. And the woman is designed to have one man, okay? All that other stuff, women having multiple men, that shit came from Esau, which goes back to that Babylonian bullshit, man.
Yeah, and that spreads disease.
Right.
You know, but if a man has multiple women, that doesn't spread disease. You
right.
know, as long as those women only dealing with that man only.
Yeah, and I forgot the term, but basically when a woman has 2 or 3 or 4 multiple partners, when that man ejaculates into her, man, she carries a part of him, man, that vibration. So that's the reason why these women are so fucking crazy, because they have 20 and 30 other men's vibrations on them, man.
That spirit they put on them.
Yeah.
To act that way.
That's right, man.
If a nigga act crazy, she probably act crazy. If a nigga be like, be cordial, she be cordial. But these hoes, they do what they want to do.
Yeah, she dealt with multiple personalities, you know, multiple men. You know, because a man, he puts his vibration on a woman. Because you get a woman, this is why it tells you how a man and a woman, they become one flesh. You know, so she did that with multiple men. She gonna have all them different spirits on her, you know?
That's right.
Because his DNA actually goes into her brain.
That's
You know what
right.
I'm saying? When you have sex with him, like pieces of his DEA be in the woman's brain like forever.
That's why they always remember their first love, so to speak, man. Or their first person that you break your virginity with, you never forget about them.
Yeah.
And because that goes back into the scriptures when the Lord said that when a man findeth a wife or a man findeth a woman, they twain shall how does it become one flesh? They twain shall become one flesh, you know? So that's why you never forget that individual, man, because those are actually your official first marriage.
Here it is right here. This is Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
That's right.
Through the process of intercourse, man. That's how you become one flesh, man. And that term is actually called microchimerism, okay? And that's basically when a woman sleeps with multiple partners, she retains that DNA from those multiple partners.
Does it say for how long?
Forever. That DNA, that man's semen becomes a part of that woman.
If I can add to
Go ahead,
it, like if you with a woman for a long amount of time, it's just your woman. Y'all actually started to look alike, man. People started to tell y'all kind of started favoring each other, man.
Like brother and sister.
Yeah, hey, you see that with old couples, man. Old couples is like 70, 80 years old now. They look alike. They start sharing their DNA. I didn't think about it till you brought it up. They got pictures of old couples. They've been together since like 1920, 1930, 1940. Now they're like 80 years old. They look alike, man.
Yeah, that shows that your woman is an extension of you.
It's like twins. And because twins complete each other's sentences, they have the same thoughts at the same time. They know what the next person idea may be when a subject matter or topic comes up. That's the same way with your woman. Your woman knows you like the back of your hand, you know, so after you've been with her for a while, you know like the brother Yashima was going into, man. You know?
Then you got those different sperms from those different men inside those women. And you got different sperms to do different things, man. All the sperms don't go to the egg. You got sperms that fall back to fight off other sperms, foreign sperm, man. You know, so a woman be having a war within her vagina, man, with all the different men ejaculating in them, man.
Yeah, that's right. And also what they do is that sperm don't die. It just goes to some part of her body. And when it goes into a certain part of her body, that makeup of that man is still in her. That's why these women be having all different type of multiple personalities.
Right. I was just finna say it. Right.
When all different type of men ejaculate in the woman, them they become one. The scriptures say what? In the beginning, the Lord said, "Let the man get with the woman, and they shall become one flesh, and they shall have sex." And there's a union between them. That's what the Lord said. Whatsoever man put together, let no man put. Whatsoever the Most High put together, let no man put asunder. Why? Because there's a union there. And that sperm and the act of sex is what consummates everything and brings everything together. You know, so when a woman has sex with multiple different men, those sperm never leave her. It becomes a part of her makeup. You know?
Hey. That's right.
If I can say this too, that's how you get UTI, man. Yeah. These whores, you know how to get UTI?
Hey, and let the audience know what that is. UTI.
Urinary tract infection. I overheard a Jake talking about in my job, and I absorbed it through the spirit. Yeah. Urinary tract infection. What happens is the women, they have sex with multiple men. They ejaculate in the right. The women get on birth control. What does birth control prolong? That period.
Right.
So what happens is all that different semen get stuck in her system, like their blood gets stuck in her system. So what happens is those guys can have STDs and shit, and the sperm become bacterial, All right, so you got all that bacteria and all that stuff clogged up in her system, then she has an infection. See, yo, what is a woman, what's the purpose of a period, man? A period flushes the woman out. So any bacteria, any uncleanness, that flower, that period is flushed out by way of their blood. That's right. But when she gets on that birth control stops that blood from coming out, so it stops the semen from coming out. Right. Which the semen, it starts to become bacteria.
And that's why their stomachs are bloated.
And that's why them bitches become bloated, because nothing comes out. It's like a detox. Yeah. Your stomach becomes bloated when you never detox that stuff out of your system. Same thing with a woman. She becomes bloated because she never has that period. Yeah. So what happens is she has all types of infections because she got different men's semen inside of her just built up in her, man.
Yeah. Yeast infections.
Yeast infections.
You know, cellulite and all that.
Yep. Chlamydia.
Yep. All that, man. All them different diseases, man.
Gonorrhea.
You know, and then sometimes like if a woman has sex with multiple men, and their men are not wearing rubbers, when those sperms meet each other and they fight, like the brother was breaking down, you know, you have those that go to the egg. There's a wall that stops other sperm from coming in, and there's a wall that fights other foreign sperm.
They call warrior sperm.
Right, warrior sperm. And what happens is that when they kill those sperm off, it creates this funk, this stink, you know? Right. And that's where that stink comes from. It comes from them different sperm cells dying, fighting each other. You know, hey, these women are nasty, man. That's right. They're fucking nasty, man.
That shit crazy.
Without, hey, nuclear war type shit.
Wow. Hey, all right, somebody get Jeremiah 2:21, man.
That is Jeremiah 2:21. Yeah, I planted thee a noble vine.
Right. So if something is noble, it means choice. All right. And out of all the nations, the 18 nations upon the face of the earth, Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai chosen the nation of Israel, man. Go ahead, bro.
Holy, a righteous seed.
Right. We was created to be righteous, man. Go ahead.
It said holy, a righteous seed, meaning the whole nation was supposed to be a righteous seed. Because the whole word holy is spelled with a W.
That's right.
It's the whole nation of Israel that was supposed to be a righteous seed. So when the Lord created us, He created us to be, all of us supposed to be holy. God. You know, that's why what made us holy, the law, statutes, and commandments that the Lord gave us. God. You got it.
How then art thou turned into a degenerate plant?
Right. So our people now has become a degenerate plant, man. Go ahead.
Of a strange vine unto me.
All right, now, what brought this on, man? Jump to Jeremiah 3:8.
Yeah, if I can make a quick
go ahead, bro. It's on you, Apostle.
Now it says there, how I planted you a holy people, right? A holy vine. How have you become a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? Now, when you look up the word strange there, it goes back to the Hebrew word nakar. Now, the Hebrew word nakar, when you read in the scriptures, it's speaking about actual strangers. You know? So what happened was the Most High created us to be holy, but by us taking on the customs of these other nations, we became strange like the actual Gentiles or the actual nations to the Most High. That's why when you go back, when you go into the New Testament, the Jews and the wicked Pharisees and them, they understood the history of how Israel became unclean, how they became Gentiles. And that's where that whole thing comes about. So pretty much the Lord created us to be righteous. He gave us the law, statutes, and commandments to separate us from these other nations. When we went off, we became like them, pretty much like them. That's what the Lord's saying. So how have you become just like these other nations unto me? You know, that are unclean, that are not fit, you know, to rule anything, that are not fit to be on this planet except for what? For being slaves. God. You know? You got it, bro.
Hey, you had something, bro?
No. I think this brother said he had something real quick.
You want me to get that first up?
No, bring yours up, bro.
You know, that's why it's important to understand the definition of words. That's why it's important to go back into the actual languages that the Bible was written in, so that you can really get the full understanding of what it's saying, because this English language is not doing justice to what the Bible is saying unless you go back to the origins of the words in the language that it was written in. Then you can fully understand, okay, this is what this means, and this is what that means. That's what when you look at the word, just for an example, the word mark. You can look at the word mark, and it says, for everywhere where it has a certain Hebrew word, it says mark in the Old Testament, it says mark in the New Testament. So what guys will do that are unlearned and refuse to exercise their mind, they'll use scriptures in the Old Testament and in the New Testament to use the word mark means this. I mean, but you got to go back to the origins of the word. Where did those words come from? They came from a certain language. That was the Hebrew and the Greek. Yeah, son, bro. You got it.
I got a quick one for you. Hey, Yash. Go after me. Hey, this is Ecclesiasticus 1:1. For the same things other in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language.
If I can add something to that, basically going back to what y'all had said, because you know, people, they only think that the New Testament was written in Greek. They just think about the Greek manuscripts. It was written in Hebrew, man. And you know, the brothers can attest to it, because I showed the brothers. I got this this Hebrew Bible that, you know, Esau, he had made in like the 1800s. But basically, they changed the words up in there, man. Because see, them Amalekites, they know, you know, because for that word mark in Revelation 13 and 16, they got it as Tawa. That really shouldn't be the word right there. It really should be quiet. You know, because mark or Tawa, that just means a sign or a token. It should be quiet.
Exemption from judgment.
Yeah, exemption from judgment.
That's right.
Yeah, that's Tawa. But it should be quiet because karagma, it means to cut in the skin. Same thing as quiet.
Exactly.
You know, going back to Leviticus, was it 19 and 28? You know, so
and the word for cutting into the flesh is stigma in the Greek.
Yep.
Which is synonymous with the word quiet in the Hebrew. It's not the word karagma is not synonymous with the word tawa.
Right.
There's two different words. But that's where you have to understand the definition of these words, which a lot of these other groups out there they refuse to go into, you know, because the Spirit of the Lord is not dealing with them. But that's all right. That's okay. We're gonna keep teaching them what the Lord gave us to teach, and they can keep doing what they're doing. What they say, let the blind lead the blind, and if they shall both fall into a ditch. You got it, brother.
Come on. And this is just a quick example. This is Galatians 6 and 17. From henceforth, let no man trouble me, for I bear in my body the marks of the Lord Yahushua. So that's why you have to go back into the Greek and the origins of the Hebrew, man, in order to get the true understanding of what the scriptures are trying to say, man. All right? What you got, y'all? It's a lot, bro.
This is Isaiah chapter 5, starting at verse 1. Now I will sing to my well-beloved a song of my Now I will sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. My beloved have a vineyard in a very fruitful hill, and he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof.
Hey, you read that again, bro. Hey, get Isaiah the 5th chapter. That's Isaiah the 5th chapter.
Let's go into it.
Hey, because that's a bad chapter, man.
Let's go into it. I'm gonna read that.
And that's the points. Bring the points out too.
On this Isaiah chapter 5 verse 1 again. Now will I sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved touching his vineyard. My well-beloved have a vineyard in a very fruitful hill, and he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the choicest vines, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes.
Right, and this is where understanding the languages and understanding these scriptures come into play. It said it became a what? The last verse you just read.
It brought forth wild grapes.
It brought forth what? Wild grapes. Now you go into the New Testament, it speaks about what? The wild olive tree. That was planted contrary to the regular olive tree. Now people will say, well, that's talking about the Gentiles, the other nations. No, it's talking about the Israelites, because everything goes back to the Israelites, you know. And when it says that it was planted a noble vine, then it became, if the Most High planted it to be noble, if the Most High gave the nation of Israel the laws, statutes, and commandments to make them holy, how in the fuck, excuse my French, did they become unclean? How in the hell did they become wild when I gave them everything? You know, if you're a husbandman and you go into your field and you do everything that's right to make sure that your field is dug up right, the fertilizer is right, everything was broken up the way it was supposed to be broken up. The seeds were planted properly, they were covered properly, they were watered properly, they were watched properly, nurtured properly. The moon and the sun gave the certain light. How in the hell did it turn out to be something else than what you planted it to be? That's right. You know, that's what's being said here. So the Most High is the one that watched over the vineyard, which is going to tell you later on down. They're talking about the whole house of Israel, but they became wild. Why? Because they were what's the word I'm looking for? They were seduced, for lack of better words, by the governance and the ways of the other nations. And that's what happened, you know? I mean, I know it's probably going away from the topic that you were dealing with, brother. But hey, brother, hey, you got it, right?
Hey, can I bring out a quick point? Hey, this is to back you up, Apostle. Jeremiah 11:16. The Lord called thy name a green olive tree.
Oh, man. Right.
Fair.
Right, you know? Because a green olive tree is what? A young olive tree that's not ripe yet. But if it's a young olive tree, it's going to flourish into what? When the olives come out of it, they're going to be ripe, but they're going to be olives. They're not going to be apples. They're not going to be oranges. They're not going to be the peaches down in Natchez, Mississippi, where nobody wants to eat. Right? They're going to be the righteous olives that they're supposed to be. You got it, brother.
And of goodly fruit, with the noise of a great tumult, he have kindled fire upon it.
Why? Because why did he kindle the fire upon it? Because this tree or these olives that were planted to be righteous, they went off and became something else. When you read the book of Psalms, 106th chapter, it breaks down that the Israelites that were set up to be Israelites, they were seduced by the ways of the other nations, by their idols. And that's what made Jake become Gentiles. That's what made them become heathens or become strangers to the laws, to the statutes, the commandments, the Commonwealth of Israel. You know? And the same way that they were pushed out is the same way that they're able to be brought in. And that's the reason why these wacky-ass Christians and these other people of the other nations, they can't get, you know, when the scriptures speak about the Gentiles and the Gentiles being brought back into the fold, what are they being brought back from? Or what are they being brought back into? Because the word convert itself means to be brought back. So how can you be brought back to something that you were never a part of? Did not our forefathers, when them nations came, they said, we want to build with y'all? Because our forefathers were building since the days of Zaharadan, you know, and them different kings back in the days. And what they say, you have nothing to do to build with us. Why? Because you're not a part of this. You have another nation. And when you read the Bible is specifically dealing with the nation of Israel. Whether they knew that they were Israelites or whether they didn't. You know, whether they were being called Gentiles or Greeks or Persians or whatever, or whether they were being called Jews or Israelites. You know, bottom line. And you have to understand that in order for you to get the understanding of the scriptures. And that's a big problem today. And that's what these so-called wacky Christians and these other people that claim to know the Bible are confused. You know? You got it, brother.
And if I could just add, in the book of Ezra, it tells you about that. Basically, when we told the other nations that they could not build, what happened? They tried to weaken our hands, man. Yep. Back into Jeremiah 11:16, and the branches of it are broken, for the Lord of hosts that planted thee have pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah, which is reflecting back to that green olive tree, which they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger and offering incense unto Baal.
And that's what happened. It said they done it unto themselves. So pretty much when they did that, they did it unto themselves, meaning that they caused themselves to become Gentiles. They caused themselves to become of the other nations. They caused themselves to become heathens. And that's what the Lord looked at Israel, the Israelites that way. Matter of fact, before you read on, brother, can somebody get Hosea 8:8? And then somebody get a first, what is that? 1 Corinthians 12 and 1, is it? You got that one? Read that one, and then somebody get Hosea 8 and 8.
All right, this is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols,
So
even
now,
as you were led.
what's the key word there? It says you know that you were. You know that you were Gentiles, right? Now the key word there says you know that you were Gentiles, meaning what? You're not naturally Gentiles. Because if you were something, you can't, if a Gentile or a so-called nation is a nation, they can't be something that they're not. So the reason why the Apostle Paul said, he said, you know that you were Gentiles, he was explaining to them why they became Gentiles. How did they become Gentiles? Read it again, bro.
It's 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2. Ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols.
Carried away unto these dumb idols. So what made you to be called Gentiles? And who were the ones that were calling you Gentiles? The Jews that were still in Jerusalem were looking at you as, no, these guys are bugged out. They ain't part of this no more. They're gone. And that's what was happening. Somebody get Matthew, the 18th chapter, where I believe it starts at the 15th verse, where it says, if they will not hear the church, that they be cast out as heathen.
I got that word in the Greek.
Carry it out, brother.
All right, this that word carry in the Greek, and it's apa, and it says a separation. It says of separation of a part from the whole, where a whole some part is taken.
Oh, hold up, man. Hold up, brother. Hold up. Say what? That was the word carry?
Yeah.
Carried away?
It's apo in the Greek, and it says a separation of a part from the whole.
A separation of a part from the whole. What's the whole? W-H-O-L-E. The Lord said in Jeremiah, who's reading that? Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter. Thou were planted wholly a right seed. The whole nation was supposed to be righteous. But what happened? They became a degenerate plant of a strange vine. So when it says you were carried away unto these dumb idols, it was a pole, was it?
Apo.
Okay, Apo. And read it again.
And it says a separation of a part from the whole.
Right, a separation of the part from the whole. Why? Because when you had the nation together, the nation was separated into two different nations. You had the kingdom of Judah, or the kingdom of the south, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Then you had the kingdom of the north, or the kingdom of Israel, which was Ephraim and the rest of the other tribes. So they became separate. And when they became separate, the kingdom of Ephraim, or the kingdom of Israel, started worshiping different idols. So they became separated from the other whole part. That's what the Most High said, that in these times, he's building back up the tabernacles of David, which is fallen. And he's going to rebuild it and renew it as in the days of old. So that's what's happening right now. The whole nation of Israel is being brought back together. All 12 tribes. Not just the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And back then, they was harping on that heavy because they understood the history. When you read the scriptures give you the history. They understood and knew the history. Them wicked Jews in Jerusalem, them wicked Pharisees and them, they knew the history. And that's where they would always go back to the history of the things that were going on. Yeah,
yeah, and that's the reason why Elijah was going to come back as Abba Bivens. Because when he came back as Abba Bivens, that was the time frame he restored everything, man. Letting our nation know who were the who was the lost 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah, Lord, he turned the hearts of the children back to the fathers. Why did he have to do that? Why did he have to turn the hearts of the children back to the fathers? Because
they great falling away.
Right, because they fell away. All right? Now, if you have Israelites today, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, that say, well, I always knew that I was an Israelite, you're a goddamn liar. You're a liar, man, because this is something that's been hid from the world. If our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost. But what did the Lord do? The Lord took the veil away, and he set up men out here to teach the truth, to peel back the veil and peel back that cover or that curtain from the lies that have been taught, and to show the world the truth. And that's why a lot of brothers started waking up. That's how I woke up. I didn't know I was an Israelite. I was a simple-minded Puerto Rican out in the world at one time. But then when the Lord opened up my mind to know about the truth, and I saw the 12 tribe sign, and I saw the 12 tribes, and I saw the breakdown of it, I knew in my spirit that it was right. And then when I read it, and I came down to Ephraim, the so-called Puerto Ricans, I remember this clearly back in 1993, that I had a sigh of relief in my spirit, and in my mind I was like, I'm finally where I belong. Because although I wasn't, I can't say that I was searching, but in my spirit I was. And then when I saw that, I had let out a sigh of relief, like damn, I'm finally where I belong. Like I'm finally back where I belong. You know, and I'm sure brothers have their testimonies of how the Lord brought them into the truth. So nobody out here knew the truth because the truth was hidden for a long period of time.
I got a quick one to match you, bro, real quick. Ephesians 2:11. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh, made by hands.
And this right here is a very important scripture to understand if you're going to understand the whole situation about the Israelite foreigners and the Jews. If you don't understand that, you don't understand the mystery. Somebody get what is that? It's Colossians 1. It starts at 25. I believe the point is at 26. Before we read on with that, brother, because this is deep right here, man. You know, even though this is milk to us, it's really meat to the world.
It's another definition to explain what he just said.
Bring it out, bro.
Carried away.
Bring it out.
All right, it's another definition for that word carried in 1 Corinthians 12:2. And it says, of any kind of separation of one thing from another by which the union or fellowship of the two is destroyed.
And that's it. Come on, man. You know what? Matter of fact, with that, we're gonna close up. You don't have to go into it no more. Yeah. And you see how these devils are, right? They'll give you the truth, but then they'll cover it up with lies because the blue letter Bible goes off. Yeah. But they have the truth in there. And that's what happens, you know? And they understand and they know that the nation of Israel was split into two. They understand that one part of the nation went, and not just really the whole nation, most of them. Because you had the Jews or the southern kingdom, a lot of them during the time of the Greek Empire, what did they do? They conformed to the Greek customs. They were being called Greeks because at one time you were at the what's the word I'm looking for? You were at the I guess for lack of better words, brink of death. You know, if you called yourself a Jew, it tells you in Second Maccabees, the 6th chapter, that it was not lawful for you to. You have something? Bring it up. I believe that's what you're gonna go into.
So in this first Maccabees chapter 1, starting at verse 11.
And somebody get a Second Maccabees 6, and it says it was not lawful for them to call themselves Jews. Go ahead, brother.
In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us.
Right, and in the law it specifically says, thou shalt make no covenant with them. Meaning you ain't supposed to make no covenant with any other nation outside of your nation. That's why even if you were going to set up a leader, you had to set up a leader among your nation, not among the other nations. And you were not supposed to make any treaties with them, any covenants or any agreements with them. But what did Israel do? They made covenants and agreements with the devil. They still do it to this day. You have guys that call themselves Israelites that harp and push heavy that you have to have a 501c3 charter. And in this society, you don't need that. Even them so-called Christians, them white people out there, so-called white people out there, Edomites, even they know that they don't need to be a part of the established government through a 501c3. They don't need that. They know they don't need that. You know? But you have Israelites out there that know that they're Israelites that are making agreements and covenants with the heathen, man. And the Most High is going to destroy you guys, man. Because you guys are sold out. You ain't no different than them wicked Pharisees and Sadducees back then that made a league with Rome to keep up their position. That's why they wanted to kill Yahushua, because they were jealous, they were envious of that man. You know, and everything that he taught, they knew was right, but they wanted to go against it because they said, man, we got to get this man out the way, man. He fucking hot shit up, man. You know? So it's no different today. You know, these money-hungry, which is, it ain't even money, but these money-hungry false prophets, these ravenous wolves, Most High going to deal with every last one of you, man. Especially you guys that call yourself Israelites and have sold out, man, and gave your hand over to the wicked, man. Most High going to deal with you. You got it out.
For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Right, and that's the thing. Jake, as long as Jake deals with the other nations, they give you little crumbs here and there, like it says in the scripture. They give you little crumbs, you know. But then what happens? After a while, they're gonna pull those crumbs back, and you're gonna be in a fucked up situation. You know. Go ahead.
So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forwarded herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen.
Right, so they did after the ordinance of the heathen. What is an ordinance? An order, a command, a law. Right? So when they did according to the ordinance of the heathen, or the command of the heathen, go ahead.
Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen.
Go ahead.
And made themselves uncircumcised.
Now this is twofold. They physically did that because you had Israelites back then that actually took the foreskin and put it back on their penis, make themselves look uncircumcised because they had to fight butt naked. So if they fought butt naked and they saw that their rod was circumcised, they were like, wait a minute, y'all ain't Greeks. You know, y'all are not a part of the Hellenistic world. You know, your shit is circumcised. So what they did was they sewed the shit back on. And also, they also did it mentally through worshiping of these other nations. You know, so that's how you become uncircumcised. Back then they did it physically, and they also did it so-called spiritually. And even today, you have these people that's in the churches that call themselves Christians. They're uncircumcised. That's where they're trying to gather everybody into this thing. Into this salvation, into the law, statutes, and commandments that the Most High only gave to the nation of Israel. You know? You got it, bro.
I got a quick precept going to that circumcision. I'm going to go back to that. This Romans chapter 2, verse 20, starting at verse 25. Yeah. For circumcision verily profited if thou keepest the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision.
Right. So now, somebody give me Matthew 18. I asked for earlier. Start at the 15th verse. Read that again, brother. See, you have to listen. I'm going to say like High Priest R.A. used to say, you got to listen good to what is being said here. Because this is some real deep shit that's being said here. If you listen to what's being said, and the Lord opens up your mind and your ears to it, you're going to understand the mystery that the Lord is talking about. Because it's broken down right here. It's saying it, it's telling you what it is. Go ahead, bro.
Romans chapter 2, verse 25 and 26 again. It said, for circumcision verily profiteth.
Circumcision, which is the keeping of the law, verily profiteth, because it tells you where in Romans 3 and 1, I believe it is. Somebody get that real quick before you read on, bro. You got that? Read it.
Romans chapter 3, verse 1. What advantage then have the Jew?
What advantage then have the Jew? Go ahead.
Or what profit is there of circumcision?
And what profit is there of circumcision? Go ahead.
Much every way.
Much every way. In all different, everything, in every way. Go ahead.
Chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of the Most High.
Chiefly or principally because unto them were committed the oracles of the Most High. The Israelites were giving the laws by the Most High. So it's very profitable. But now when you read in the other, in the second chapter, go ahead, read that again.
Romans 2 and 25. For circumcision verily profiteth if thou keep the law.
So it's a profit if you keep the law. Right? Because you call the Jew, you're keeping the law, you're keeping the Passover, the different high holy days. Thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not commit murder. thou shalt not steal, and everything else that comes with the law. Go ahead.
But if thou be a breaker of the law,
but if you break the law, go ahead.
Thy circumcision is made uncircumcision.
Now what does that mean? That means if you break the law, you go from being an Israelite to being a non-Israelite. Your circumcision becomes uncircumcision. Did Israelites do that in the past? You got that right, they did. The brother just read it. They became uncircumcised. So the mystery that the scriptures speak about, the mystery of the Gentiles and who the Gentiles are, is broken down just in that one verse there. So get that in, somebody get that in Matthew 18 real quick.
Just one more verse,
I know we're going to go back to it, brother.
This is Matthew 18, verse 15. Moreover, if thy brother should trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone.
Go ahead.
If he should hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother.
Right, so if you have a problem with a brother, right, if he trespasses against you, if he do something that's against the law to you, you and him go and you work it out. Y'all talk it out. And say, hey, brother, you did this, blah, blah, you know? And then y'all sit there and you reason between the two of you. Yeah? And if he listens to you, then you gain your brother. Now y'all brothers again. Go ahead.
But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more.
Right, because one or two more what? Because you have to have witnesses. Go ahead.
That in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word may be established.
Because that is the law. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every law may be established. Go ahead.
Okay. If he should neglect to hear them, tell him to the church.
Right, so if he don't listen to you, then you take it to the church. If you talk to the brother and he don't listen, and you get 2 or 3 witnesses and he doesn't listen, then you take it before the congregation of the church, right? Go ahead.
But if he neglect to hear the church,
so if he don't listen to any reason, he don't listen to the laws, he don't listen to the things that you're bringing out to him, go ahead.
Let him be unto thee as a heathen man.
Let him be unto thee as a heathen man. He's a heathen. He's a castaway. He's a cast out. And that's what was happening during the time of Yahushua. The Jews that were there, that called themselves Pharisees, whatever they call themselves, they knew the history. They knew that you had a lot of Israelites that fell away. You know, they knew that you had a lot of Israelites during the time of the Greek Empire that went and took on the customs of the Greeks and became uncircumcised. They became Gentiles. And that's what was going on back then. And they understood that. But when you read it today, these people don't know that history. So what are they going? They're going according to the bullshit that you see out here today. You have something now?
I got you. Hey, Ephesians 2 and 12. That at the time ye were without Mashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel.
Why? Because when you read the Bible, right? The Lord said, these are my laws, statutes, and commandments. This is what you got to keep. And if you break them, you got to sacrifice to me certain animals, right? But it came to the point where even in the law it says that the Lord was going to send the Messiah, the anointed. And he was going to come and do what? Deliver his people from their sins, right? So when the Israelites fell away from that, they had no hope. When Yahushua came, they was on another plateau, on another level. You know, they were like castaways. So they were strangers to the commonwealth of Israel. They were strangers to the covenants. Okay?
And strangers from the covenants of promise.
Why? Because the covenants of promise was given to who? To the Israelites. But when they fell away, as we read there, because they broke the laws, they broke the statutes, they broke the commandments, they made covenants and agreements with the heathen, they no longer were no longer able to access or to grab back on to life. Go ahead.
Having no hope and without the Most High in the world.
Right, having no hope and without the Most High in the world. That's what it says. You know that they were Gentiles carried away into these dumb idols, even as they were led. Go ahead.
But now in Mashiach Yahushua.
But now in Yahushua, Mashiach, the anointed. Go ahead.
Ye who sometimes were far off.
Right, you were sometimes that were far off. Hold that, brother. Somebody get Daniel 9 and 7. So now in Hamashiach, Yahushua, you who were sometimes afar off. What made them afar off? By breaking the law, statutes, and commandments, going against what the Most High had established. So they were foreigners. And that's the reason why the Apostle Paul had to come back and break it down in the book of Romans. And he made the point of the olive tree and the wild olive tree, which is all the same people, it's all the same tree, but a part of the tree became wild. It became strange. Why? Because the way that they did things was against the order that the Most High set up. And that's why they became strange.
Apostle, if I can add, that's why Jeremiah classified them as degenerates.
That's it.
You know?
He said, how have thou become the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? And when you look up that word strange, it goes back to the actual word nakar, which is an actual heathen. Now, were they actually heathens? Yeah, they actually became heathens. But they really wasn't naturally them heathens. They were unnaturally those heathens by their actions, by their deeds. All you got to do is read Psalms 106 chapter. It breaks it down. And other chapters. Okay, bring it out.
This day in 9 and 7, O Lord, righteousness belong unto thee, but unto us the future of faces, as is this day, to the men of Judah.
Which is what? The kingdom of Judah. Southern kingdom, go ahead.
And to the inhabitants of Jerusalem.
And to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, which represents what? The rest of the other tribes. Because Israel was split into two nations. And that's another mystery that people don't understand. Go ahead.
And to all of Israel.
And to all of Israel. So there's no getting around it. The Lord gave it to Daniel to the Jews, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to all Israel. Go ahead.
That are near.
That are near, meaning what? They were in the land of Jerusalem. They were in the land of Israel. They were coming to keep the customs of the feast, even if they were living among the East Indians and all that. They knew they were Jews. They were coming to Jerusalem, keep the feast and the high holy days. They were keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments, and all of that. Go ahead.
And that are far.
And those that are what?
That are far off.
That are far off. Now hold that. Go back to Ephesians.
Ephesians 2 and 13. But now in Mashiach Yahushua, ye who sometimes were far off are made nigh.
Right. You who were sometimes afar off are made nigh or brought near. Go ahead.
By the blood of Mashiach.
Why? Because the agreement was if you break the laws, what you had to do, you had to sacrifice the blood of certain animals in order for you to receive remission or forgiveness for committing that crime. So when the Most High did not accept it anymore, what happened? He had to set up a new way, a new covenant, and that new covenant was established by what? By better promises and by a blood sacrifice. And that blood sacrifice became who? Yahushua. And that's how these Israelite foreigners were able to be brought back in through faith. Okay?
For he is our peace, who have made both one.
Right, he is our peace, who have made both one. What does it talk about, made both one? Is it talking about the Israelites and the actual nations, the Gentiles? No. It's the nation of Israel was broken into two. Somebody get that. Bring it out, brother. Somebody get Ezekiel 37. Start at 15.
All right, this is the book of St. John, chapter 10, verse 14. I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold.
And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Now that just doesn't include the northern kingdom, the 10 tribes that were already on this side of the world. You know, and the ones that were still mingled around the southern kingdom there. It was also talking about the Jews of the southern kingdom that fell away from the grace of the Most High. Because you had a lot of those Judites back then, and Levites and Benjaminites that actually took on the customs of the nations back then too. Okay?
And it says...
So those are the sheep that had to be brought back to the fold. But mainly, the ones that were already over here in the so-called Americas. And that's why when Yahushua died on the cross, right, resurrected, what did he do? He came to the Jews, right? He actually came back to the apostles and them, He showed himself for 40 days, 40 nights, breaking bread with them, breaking down things that were going to happen, gave him the understanding of the scriptures, and then after that he left. He went up into the what? Into the chariots. And what did he do? He came over here to this side of the world, and he taught the rest of the tribes over here that he was going to come back one day and deliver them. That's when you have stories of what? Quetzalcoatl and what's the other one? Quetzalcoatl and Kulkulkan, which is a feathered serpent. You know?
If I can just add, hey, that's basically why Yahushua is classified as that cornerstone. Because what does a cornerstone do? It brings two walls together. And what were those two walls separated? It was the house of Israel and the house of Judah, man.
That's right. And then it says, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd.
Hold up. They said they hear his what?
His voice.
His voice. Not no goddamn watch. I'm gonna bring Jake in by his watch. They're gonna be drawn in by his watch. So check out this. You see this? Do you see this rock on my hand? This what is it? What is this shit called? The pink diamond or the yellow diamond? I'm gonna draw. You know, when Jake sees that ring on my finger, they're gonna come over here. And when they see well, you know, back in the days, where they used to call them Cuban links. I don't know what they call them today. Different, you know, style of they got platinum today. Back then they didn't have no platinum. They had gold and silver. You know, but this chain that I got on right. Hold up. Let me pull it out, because you know, you never know. It might be a Jake that might see this chain and he might be drawn by the chain. It ain't about. It's about the word.
Right.
That's that voice. You know, so if you drawn into this thing by any other reason but by the word, you ain't a man of the Lord. That's right. You know? Go ahead, brother. Read that again.
And it said,
it's like I had to get a little dramatic, but you know.
It said, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold.
Why? There shall be one fold, because there was a separation. You got to understand the history. There was a separation between the two kingdoms, going all the way back after the time of King Solomon. Plug it in. Plug that. Yeah, use that and plug that in. Yeah. There was a separation on the other side. Yeah. There was a separation between the two kingdoms, and that's what if you understand that, if the Spirit is with you, you're going to understand that that's the reason why there was a separation between the two of them, and they became unclean. They became uncircumcised by going away from what the Lord had already established and going to follow the other nations. It's simple, it's easy, but they're not going to get it if the Lord ain't with them. And this clown, Jesus is the Word, he quoted a scripture that we always read in the book of 2 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, the 11th chapter, where it speaks about the simplicity that's in Yahushua. I know you brothers have heard countless of times, you probably countless of times use the same scripture. Now all of a sudden he using the scripture like he came up with it. You know, like he just had this great revelation and he just read that scripture and then brought it out. We've been using that scripture for a long time, and you guys are a bunch of clowns, man. You know?
Can I say something, Apostle?
Yes, sir.
Because, you know, the word cleave, when you read in Isaiah 14, that word will say cleave to the house of Jacob. That basically goes to the same thing of how the Israelite foreigners are going to be grafted in. Like cleave and grafted in is the same thing. Meaning to join together.
Right.
You know?
That's right, brother. That's right.
I got a precept on what said that brotherhood was broken.
That was it on that, right? You got it, brother.
You want me to get this first?
Get it, brother. Get it. Okay. I know where you at, Zechariah.
Go.
Got that.
Zechariah chapter 11, verse 14. Then I cut asunder my other staff, even bands, that I may break the brotherhood between Judah and Israel.
That's it. That was it. That's why we read in Ephesians 2 about the separation. You know, which that separation is dealing with the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel. And it's also dealing with the Jews themselves, because the Jews, some of them were still keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments, and some of them were keeping the customs of the Greeks. It's easy, man. It's simple, like we always bring out. But these clowns going to try to use scriptures that they never brought out to try to justify, oh, what is the simplicity in your... Man, how many times have we quoted them scriptures, man? You know?
Yep. That's right. Bring it out.
Hey, Jeremiah 3:8, and I saw when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I have put her away, and given her a bill of divorce, yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also.
That's simple. That goes into the two kingdoms once again.
And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and with stocks. And yet for all this her treacherous sister Judah have not turned unto me with her whole heart, but vainly saith the Lord.
Right, them stones and stocks represent these churches today. You know, them different idols. Go ahead. And then even after all that happened, when Judah saw that the northern kingdom fell to the Assyrians, they still didn't turn to the Lord. They still kept doing the bullshit that they were doing. You know? That's it. All right. Yeah, bring it up.
This is from the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. And you look up the word diaspora or diaspora, it says, the name applied to the Jews living outside Palestine and maintaining their religious faith among the Gentiles. God had warned the Jews through Moses that dispersion among other nations will be their lot if they depart from the Mosaic law.
That's part of the curse.
So Tobit 13:3, confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he has scattered us among them.
Real quick, somebody get Hosea 8:8 before you read on. Hosea 8:8.
The book of Hosea, chapter 8, verse 8. It said, Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure.
Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure. So meaning what? They're going to be like these heathens. A vessel wherein is no pleasure, like you might have a vase, or you might have something in your house that they call it a centerpiece, a thing of a conversation piece, as they call it. And it's admired, whether it's a painting or a vase or whatever in your house. And then you have the toilet. Nobody's going to be talking about, oh, you have such a beautiful and gorgeous toilet. You know, I even like the graffiti on the side of the wall, you know, the brown stuff that was on the side of the wall. They're not going to be talking about that because that doesn't matter. That's a vessel unto dishonor. You know? That was it up? Somebody who was reading? Somebody else?
Yeah, that was it. Verse 9 going to it. It says, for they are gone up to Assyria, a wild ass alone by himself. Ephraim have hired lovers.
Yeah, now a wild ass alone by himself is what? Like if you have a wild horse and you don't tame it, what happens? It's going to run in the wilderness wherever it wants to go.
Right.
You know, that's the same thing with Israel. They were not caged in, so to speak.
There no order per se.
That's it, bro. That's it. No order. So they went ahead and did what they wanted to do. Yeah. You know, and what happened? If you don't get, like my man says, if a hoe don't receive no instruction, she headed for self-destruction. Right. You know, so you have to have an order. You have to have instructions.
Right.
So the Most High gave us instructions, and when we went away from those instructions, we got jacked up. Right. Y'all brothers got it.
It says, these prophecies were largely fulfilled in the two captivities by Assyria and Babylonia.
Beautiful.
But there were other captivities which helped scatter the Israelites.
I want for you before you leave. Deuteronomy 28:25. The Lord Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
Why? Because the Lord forsook us. Because we forsook the rock of our salvation, the Lord forsook us. And that's why we're in the condition that we're in today.
Right.
So the Lord had to wake us back up today to come back, because now it's time for the great reawakening, you know? Okay.
It says, by the time of the Messiah, the diaspora must have been several times the population of Palestine. Paul invariably contacted the people in every city he visited.
Oh, what? But I thought he went to the Gentiles. He contacted, we'll read that again.
It says Paul invariably contacted.
Go ahead.
The people in every city he visited.
The people in every city he visited. Come on, man. Where did Paul go? He went to the Romans, right? He went to the Corinthians, Greece. He went to the Thessalonians in Thessalonica. He went to the Ephesians in Ephesus. He went to the Philippians In Philippi, he went to the Galatians. In Galatia, he went to the Colossians and Colossus. Come on, man. You know?
You got it, bro. I got a couple on, so you might want to bring yours out.
Let me
Yeah.
get this little 22 on. Hey, James 1:1. James, a servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushua Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting.
Right, and that's who they were gathering, the 12 tribes that were scattered abroad, greeting. And they understood back then, when they said the word Gentile, that it was talking about the Israelite foreigners. It wasn't talking about the other nations. Because we never had any dealings with the other nations. In the Old Testament, in the New Testament, or even in the future, in the kingdom.
All right, this is the book of Acts, chapter 11, verse 18. When they heard these things, they held their peace and glorified the Most High, saying, then have the Most High also, it says Salaki, then have the Most High also to the Gentiles granted repentance unto life. Now when they which were scattered abroad upon the persecution that arose about Stephen traveled as far as Phoenice and Cyprus and Antioch, preaching the word to none but unto the Jews only.
Yeah, because it's only for Israel. And they understood that. The only reason why they would use the word Gentile was to separate that, okay, these Jews over here know that they're Jews, and these people that we're calling Gentiles are Israelites that have lost their way. When you understand the definitions and the actual origins of those words when you go back into the original language. But today in the so-called Western world, you have a Western world mentality of how the scriptures are in certain words. You have something?
No, I was going to ask me if you could jump to verse 15.
15 in the same?
Yeah. What's like verse 14?
14 come.
Yeah.
This is Acts 11 and 14. Who shall tell thee words whereby thou and all thy house shall be saved?
Right, so it's talking about Apostle Peter. Read it again.
This back in Acts 11 and 14. Who shall tell thee the words whereby thou and all thy house shall be saved?
Right, because guys don't understand our grievance when it comes to you saying that Cornelius is an Edomite. All right, the scripture just said how Apostle Peter would go unto Cornelius and speak unto him words of salvation, whereby him and all his house, meaning his wife and his children, all of them will be saved. So if you're saying that Cornelius is an Edomite, you're saying that Cornelius can be saved, right? Because scripture say he can be saved. So you're saying the Edomite can be saved, him and his house. All right? So you're saying Edomites can make it, man. That's why we have a big problem with that. You know?
And you're saying Edomites are devout. Like certain Edomites can actually be devout. And devout is going back to vow. You know what I mean? So
pious. Pious, yeah. Hey, you know what? It said because they'll say that Cornelius was devout. He had a good anybody know exactly what that verse is? Where it says that Cornelius was a devout man, and he had a good report. I know it's in Acts 10. He had a good report among the nation of the Jews or something like that. Anybody know what that's at offhand?
I got finish this off going to the
word
Greece. He gonna bring the word Greece out.
Yeah, verse 2.
This back
10 and 2.
10 and 2. Yeah,
You go. You got it.
Okay. This Acts 11 and 20. It said, and some of them were men of Cyprus and Cyrene, which when they were come to Antioch, spake unto the Grecians, preaching the Lord Yahushua.
Yep. Oh, it said men of Cyrene too. The man that helped Yahushua bear his cross was his name Simon of Cyrene. You know, which when you look Cyrene up, that's in North Africa, man. So hey man, you know, people talk about how they'll lie and say that we're not the real Jews, but you already had Israelites in Africa, man. It's just that when 70 AD came, that's when the bulk of us went into Africa. I mean, we went into Europe and Asia also, but you already had Israelites in Africa. You know, the proof is Simon of Cyrene. You know, and bro just read it, you know, Jews of Cyprus and Cyrene. You got it.
You want the Acts 10 and 2?
Yeah, come. The Apostle Paul.
This is the book of Acts chapter 10, verse 2. A devout man and one that feared the Most High with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to the Most High always.
Now, where's the part that says he had a good among the Jews? He had a good report among the Jews. Is that the third verse? Yeah, because they'll say, see, why would he have to have a good report among the Jews if he was an Israelite? It was easy. You have some people that had bad reports, and you have people that had good reports. 22.
Okay, Acts 10 and 22. And they said, Cornelius, the centurion, a just man, and one that feared the Most High, and one of a good report among all the nation of the Jews.
Right, and a good report among all the nation of the Jews. So they'll say, well, look, how can that be that this man is an Israelite if he had an honest report among all the nation of the Jews? Easy. Because you had some that had bad reports, you had some that had good reports. Does that mean that they were a heathen because they had a bad report or a good report? No.
And then they called him a just man. Yep. And they called Lot a just man. And Lot was around before the nation of Israel. All right, before that title Israel was put on the nation, man. All right, now you know that if he called a person just man, they talk about an Israelite.
Right. Now hold that, brother. Hold that. And matter of fact, before you read that. Yeah, you can read that, bro. There's another scripture I was looking for, but I can't think of the wording right now. But Ananias, the man that Ananias came to, Ananias, who the Lord came to and said to anoint Paul, that Paul was going to come into him, he had to minister unto him. It said that because he's an Israelite. You know? But this is what the Lord said about, this is what the scripture say about that particular man. I know you got it, he got it.
Acts 22, verse 12. And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law.
A devout man, and Ananias, which is a Jew, he's an Israelite. Read it again.
And one Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there.
So that means he's not a Jew? He's not an Israelite? He just had a good report. You know? Y'all got it.
All right, I got, I think this is more proof that you had Israelites out there in Rome. You know, Cornelius. All right, this is Acts 18 and 1. Salat. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth. All right, and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy, with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome, and came unto them. So proving that, you know, Claudius Caesar demanded all the Jews to depart from Rome. So who was dwelling in Rome? Israelites. The same way you got, because Rome was the capital of Italy, right? Now look at this new Rome setup, man. Most Israelites are in the capital cities of these modern Roman states, man. They're the capital cities, man. It's all the same thing, man. You know?
All right. As a matter of fact, one of the oldest icons they have of the Lord, I want to say is one of the Last Supper paintings. It's actually in one of the Roman catacombs, you know, and they have some of them up in Syria, but basically, you know, it shows Yahushua with his disciples, and they all dark skinned, man, and I want to say that was made in like the 4th century A.D., which is the time of Constantine the Great, and that's that's an icon, or that's a fresco, you know, ancient painting. It's older than most of these pictures you see of so-called Jesus Christ today. But it proves that the Lord wasn't a so-called white man, you know? But just, you know, sticking to the brother's point, man, that, you know, Israelites dwelt in Rome, okay? And as a matter of fact, it says that Cornelius, he was in Caesarea. That's actually a part of Israel, man. Yeah. You know? So, hey, man, you guys don't know history, man, that come up against us, man.
Right. And the worst part about it is this Israelite camps who will teach that he's an Edomite. But the thing about it is, all right, you living in America right now, and Jake is walking around calling himself an American. They ain't calling themselves an Israelite, man.
Right.
I'm black. I'm a nigga. I'm a Negro. I'm colored. I celebrate Kwanzaa. I'm African. All this different stuff. But it'll be men in the Israelite camp calling themselves Israelites amongst these people that's doing it, and still call Cornelius an Edomite. Yeah. That don't even make sense, man.
They got family members that's in the military, family members that's in the police academy and shit.
Well, Nate's a cop. He's an Israelite.
Yeah. He's a centurion.
He's a centurion. I guess he's an Edomite because he's Roman. He's American. Hey.
Because he enforces their law, don't he?
No, the priest of Bayer just brought out James where it said the 12 tribes scattered abroad, because the New Testament is connected, man. It's basically bringing on the jakes that fell off, man, after the dispersion or the diaspora, and Yahushua used the apostle to bring them back to the truth, man. Bring them back to their heritage.
Hey, what the word diaspora mean?
Scattered.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, which goes back to the curse. And the curse is in Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, man. Because, hey, that has to be fulfilled, man. Everything has to be fulfilled prior to Yahushua returning, man. Yeah. And a part of that is us being dispersed within all these captivities with all these kingdoms in the world, man. That's why you have the term Israelite foreigners / confusion of faces, man.
Yeah, which basically during this time we all became Israelite foreigners.
Ephesians 2 and 8.
Yeah, and brother had brought scripture, the falling away. You know, really, hey man, the whole nation fell away, man. You know, but the Lord bringing all us back.
That's right.
You brothers got it.
James 1:1. Hey, we're gonna get for further edification. We're gonna get the New Living Translation. Just for further edification as to who the apostles was referring to when they were sent away. Because the word apostle means sent away, right? So who are they sent away to? So we're gonna further sent forth. So we're gonna further expound on who they were sent forth to. New Living Translation. All right, go ahead.
All right, this is the book of James, chapter 1, verse 1 from the New Living Translation. This letter is from James, a slave of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach. I am writing to the 12 tribes, Jew believers scattered abroad, greedy.
So it got even more specific. It said, I am writing to the 12 tribes, the Jewish believers. Now, real quick, get 1 Peter 1:1 real quick. Yeah, in the New Living Translation.
It's easy.
It's easy because the people that wrote the New Living Translation, they went straight to the Greek. They went straight to when it was translated to the Greek, man. So they didn't go from watered down to watered down to watered down. It was like, in order to make this translation, we're going to go back to the closest source, which is when they first translated it over to the Greek. So, you just finna say something, Apostle?
Y'all got it. All right.
1 Peter 1:1.
Come.
All right, this is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 1, verse 1. This letter is from Peter, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach. I am writing to God's chosen people who are living as foreigners in the provinces of Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. The Most High, the Father, knew you and chose you long ago, and His Spirit has made you holy.
Now, somebody go to what the brothers finish and go to in the KJV, go to the same scripture and read that. You got it, brother. Finish up.
Come. All right. And it
it's gonna break it down right there. Go ahead.
And it said, as a result, you have obeyed Him and have been cleansed by the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach.
Why? Because they were Israelites. Now go to the King James Version, same scripture. Read that from the top.
All right. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 1. Peter, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia.
Okay, now who are these strangers? We read it over here. It's already broken down. But who are these strangers? They're Israelites. Now jump to the 2nd chapter in the same book and start at the 8th verse.
All right. You said chapter 2?
Yep, chapter 2, verse 8.
All right. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 8.
Now notice at the beginning it said what? It said to the strangers that are scattered through Pontus, Cappadocia, Bithynia. You know, they were called the elect, right?
Come.
So go ahead.
All right. 1 Peter chapter 2 and in verse 8. And a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word,
which is Yahushua, right? Go ahead.
Being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed.
So it said they were appointed to this. This is talking about the Israelites that fell away. This is talking about the Jews in Israel, and it's talking about the ones that fell away. Go ahead.
But ye are a chosen generation.
But you foreigners, you strangers in Bithynia, scattered in Bithynia, in Pontus, in Cappadocia. Read it again.
But ye are a chosen generation.
Now who was that spoken to? The Israelites. You are a chosen generation. Go ahead.
a royal priesthood.
A royal priesthood going back to what? To the book of Deuteronomy. Well, I believe it's the 4th chapter. You know, go ahead.
And holy nation.
And holy nation. Go ahead.
A peculiar people.
A peculiar people. Who was that said to? Is that Deuteronomy 7 and 6?
Yeah,
Peculiar?
7 and 6.
Get that real quick, Baba Kusha, and we'll go back to that. See, it's there. The point is there. But the problem is that these people have been their conscience have been seared with a hot iron by this Western society, you know. And the Bible is only for the nation of Israel. And when you go deeper into it, it's only for the elect of the nation of Israel. And if you want to get even deeper, it's just really for the prophets, you know. Go ahead, brother. Who got that?
Well, I had some in Exodus.
Yeah, get that real quick, and then you know you can.
This Deuteronomy 7 and 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy power. The Most High hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of this earth.
That's it. You got it, bro.
There goes their racism.
All right. I got another one. It's Exodus chapter 19, verse 5 down to 6. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me.
Come on, man.
Above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation.
Come on, man. Read that back in Peter.
1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation.
Now read. I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Finish, bro.
A peculiar people.
Now read the first chapter in Peter. 1 Peter 1 and 1.
1 Peter chapter 1, verse 1. Peter, an apostle of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia.
So who is that talking about? Who are these strangers? These Gentiles. They were Israelites. Cornelius is an Israelite. You know, and all the rest of those people that Paul and them went to go see, they were all Israelites that were being brought back to the fold. You have something, brother?
Got that word strangers in the Greek right there.
Bring it out, bro.
That scripture right there.
Spoke on that earlier.
What's that? Oh yeah, Yep. That's it. They became degenerate.
The Greek word is paradiamus, which the first definition is one who comes from a foreign country into a city or land to reside there by the side of the natives.
Right, because they were not natives to Greece. They were not natives to Pontus. They were not natives to Cappadocia or Bithynia. That's why it says in Acts the 18th chapter that you had strangers in Rome. I'm sorry, that was Acts the 2nd chapter. You had strangers in Rome. They were not, what's the word I'm looking for? They were not natives to that land.
You know, and what validates that through the Spirit, no new thing under the sun, one of the bywords of our people is that we're called aliens and immigrants. So they call Issachar in America an alien, an immigrant. What's that? It's a stranger. Yeah. You're an alien to America. I thought they were here before Esau, Trump and all that. They call him aliens and immigrants, man. And what do they tell us? Go back to Africa. Exactly. So, what do you say, brother?
I said exactly. Go back.
Go back. So we're to the strangers in Babylon.
I got something. Please let me finish up. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth.
Woo! Come on, man. Hey, which some more definitions for stranger going right with it. It says sojourning in a strange place, a foreigner. Then it say a pilgrim, or stranger. Alien alone. Then it say an alien alongside.
Yeah. So there you go. And they go a pilgrim. That's like when you migrate. A pilgrim migrates. Now, where do you get the word immigrant from? I'm just going off the Spirit. I haven't looked it up yet. But what does migrate go back to immigrant or vice versa, right? So that's a pilgrim. So it's the same thing as strangers, man. We're pilgrims in America. We're aliens in America. The same way 2,000 years ago, Peter was saying to the strangers in those different countries out there in Asia Minor. Now we're the strangers out here in America. Let's build a border to Mexico to send the aliens back, to send the immigrants back. But then Claudius demand all the Jews to leave Rome, Italy. Now Trump demanding the Jews to go back to Mexico. It's the same shit. You know?
Same thing.
Same thing. No new thing under the sun.
All right, you see Jake? Hey, you can tell we the strangers. Look at what we in, man. Even you guys in IUIC, in ISUK, GOCC, you out there, and some of them be on the highways, you know, except for when it's wintertime. But yeah, they be on the highways, and they'll have their garments on, and they'll be cursing out, Jake. You call yourself American. You this, you that. But this ain't applying to all of them, man. You be wanting to save them. Really, y'all don't want to leave America. And really these guys, they love the so-called white man. You know, because they'll be, you never seen a lesson of Jake, yeah, Moab gonna be saved. You know, these Moabites in China, they're real spiritual. You know, they not going, you see that kung fu they do? They meditate, them Shaolin monks. Yeah, you don't see them trying to save them guys. They be trying to save Esau, man.
Yeah. I jumping through hoops of fire to save these devils, man. You know, but you know, we getting countless amount of scriptures that we, you know, you got something?
I mean, it's plain, man.
Crystal.
It's plain. This same people back today under the same devil. Because even back then under the Romans in Acts, the apostle said the Lord came for those that were oppressed of the devil, man. Yep. So Jake here catching hell, man. I'm talking about making rap songs about how he came about the mud, how he in the hood, like how he's struggling. Yep. You know, how he got to feed his family, all that different stuff. Who put him in that position? The devil. Yep. We all here. And like I say, he don't call himself an Israelite, man. He don't call himself that. He call himself black. And then you guys talk about Africa. When you ask them what we were doing in Africa, they can't even tell you. So what does that show you? It's the same people, man. These foreigners that are native to Israel. Not this society, not America, man. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
All right, this is the book of Titus chapter 2, verse 13. It said, looking for that blessed hope and the glorious appearing of the great power in our Savior, Yahushua HaMashiach, who gave himself for us that he might redeem us from all iniquity and purify to himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works. Going to that peculiar people that's spoken of in Exodus 19:6, man. Yep. Now you know he's quoting it in the New Testament. Now you know that those people that were scattered that he was preaching, all right, were Israelite foreigners, man.
And then it said redeem, which means to buy back. So he buying back the same people. That's the purpose of the New Testament or the New Covenant. You know, because we couldn't keep that first covenant perfectly. That's why it said for finding fault with them. You know, like the elder Ariella said, man, we breached the contract. So the Lord had to make a new contract, like, all right, they can keep this, because this time the Lord's going to put it in us, man. But it began with Yahushua, him being the perfect man. You know, him keeping it perfectly. You know, and him being the perfect sacrifice. But now we believe on Yahushua, we're going to be made perfect too. You know, it's like the brother got in Ephesians to making himself of twain one new man. What's the twain or two? The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. So this was full circle, man. You know? I mean, at this point, man, it's like, just come on, man. That's why we just say the truth ain't for everybody. Like the apostle said, it's for the prophets, man.
It's proof this is the same people, man. even amongst our people, you know, the camps and everything like that, you've never seen, you got Esau, they had 8 different things they believe in. But when it comes to our people, you've never seen people go at it when it comes to the scriptures like that. That's only in the scriptures where it had those examples of guys battling back and forth with the Lord. Like, wait a minute, so what you think about Caesar? So, you know, this is the same people that come up, they be making the videos, trying to cut you in the doctrine and different stuff like that. It's the same people back, man.
It's like, can I say something? And hold a sign up, Pop. Because Jake was saying 2,000 years ago that Caesar is our king. And that's why Jesus Christ, man. Yeah. You know? Yeah. It's the same thing, because everything, ain't nothing new under the sun. It's the same spirit. And that's why we say, y'all don't wicked scribes and Pharisees, man. Because it's the fringe doctrine. You know? But Scripture say you enlarge the borders of your garment, man. You know? And brothers have several counts. Brothers down here, brothers in Memphis, every time we encounter one of you cats, you ask us where our fringes at, man. You know, so that's you. When we read Matthew 23, that's you. You know?
Right, and when you see them, you really be trying to have some type of peace with them just to see if they humble. Like you were saying, like the brother I met at Kroger's, you know, I seen him with his friends, so I'm like, Shalom. I ain't really realized he was with Nate and them, but I seen he knew he was an Israelite, so I was just trying to have a peace with him. And then he was like, you know, Israel, the first thing he asked me, well, where your fringes? I'm like, I'm just trying to have peace with the brother. No, he got his fringes on. I wasn't tripping, but he like, where your fringes at? I'm like,
that's why I said they strain at a net and swallow a camel. Is that it? Yep. They strain at a net. Like, man, we in hell, man. All right. Oh, y'all was holding the scripture.
Yeah, this Malachi 3:17. And they shall be mine, saith the Lord of hosts, in the day when I make up my jewels. So that we were talking about a peculiar people. I will spare.
He called his people, and it's really talking about the chosen. Yeah. You know, the elect. He called them his jewels, man.
Right.
You know, hey, when you got jewelry, you know, Jake loved jewelry, man. You know what I'm saying? He having the gold on and different. Jake had gold chains and different stuff like that. Even Sakari them, when they was advertising, them garments got that gold cracking, you know. Yeah. So those jewels is precious. You know, it's precious to you. You know, and they ain't cheap either. So yeah, those jewels, hey, that's what the Lord's talking about, his people. And he called his people the apple of his eye, man. It's the same people back, except the Lord has a remnant. They elect who he's gonna save, man. Like I say, we've been getting into it, just how this is the same people coming back, man. That's why you see camps go at it with doctrines. That's why you see all these, it's the same thing, the same vibration is being spread out, except the Lord is allowing the righteousness to trump everything, man. This go round, why? Because we in the last kingdom. We about to hit the kingdom of heaven now, man. You know? Go ahead.
Make up my jewels, and I will spare them, as a man spare his own son that serve him.
Yeah, he gonna spare us from that nuclear destruction, because ultimately his jewels is the elect, man.
Right.
All right.
That was the point.
I got precept for you, if anybody's got that.
Yeah, it's a kind of one.
This from Enterman Online. For immigrant, it says one who immigrates. You go down to it says present participle immigrary, to remove, go into, move in. So we was removed from our homeland, Jerusalem.
To remove, but you know, when you look strangers up, because the brother had went into it, when you look strangers scattered, in 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 1, scattered means exiles of the dispersion. You know, so like brother said, you know, immigrants to remove. You know, you were exiled.
You got it. This is 2 Samuel 7:10. Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and will plant them, that they may dwell in a place of their own, and move no more. Neither should the children of wickedness afflict them any more, as before time.
It said dwell in a place of their own, man. So obviously Israel is scattered in all these different places. And when you scattered, and that's another thing about history, man. When you read on the history, even going back to the Greeks, and this is before Antiochus came on the scene. You know, Jake, they were killing Jake just for keeping the Sabbath, man. So what you think Jake was doing, man? Jake do the same. Jake sell his soul for a damn record deal now, man. Yeah. You know, so what you think Jake was doing when they were putting him to death trying to keep the Sabbath? He was submitting. He's like, man, can't go with this. He's gonna kill my kids, kill me. I'm gonna have to denounce the Lord, man. Like, this ain't gonna work for me. I gotta live. I want to see this gold cracking, you know? Like, and that's what Jake was doing. So you had a separation. You had Jakes in Greece, Corinth, Ephesus, all these different places. And you also had the Jakes that was still in Israel who were keeping the law, who had their little thing going, man. Versus the Jake who forsook the law, and the children, they grew up not knowing who they were, because they were being called a Greek. Matter of fact, Timothy's father. Timothy's father in the book of Timothy, his father was a Greek. His father thought he was a Greek, you know? And it's the same thing, man. Jake came over here in America knowing they were Israelites. That's where you got these spirits, swing low, sweet chariot. Somebody knew. Right. Somebody knew about the chariot swinging low to save us and carry us home.
Right.
So yeah, what was that? Carry us back to Africa? No. Obviously, it was something.
I looked over the River Jordan.
Looked over the River Jordan.
Not the Nile River.
Right.
Or the Niger River.
Exactly. So they knew, man. But what did Esau do? Esau, he took the children, sold the children off to a different plantation, killed the people for trying to read the Bible, everything like that. So what do we end up being, man? We forgot it. You can't beat that. But the Lord is bringing us back into it. Like you say, get them jewels. Now Jake being yanked out of that American way, man. That American dream. Sleep at first, trying to make it, trying to be a rapper, trying to make music, trying to be a hustler, selling drugs, being in a gang, all this different stuff, man. Being a pimp. Man, Jake came from all walks of life, man. But now, the Lord's bringing us back.
Brother got a picture. Brother got a picture.
Yeah. See, you got 21 Savage and all these guys now. And it's hard, and for some reason, it's hard for guys to believe that Israel, that the Greeks in the book of Corinthians, it's hard for them to believe that these were Israelites that they were talking to. You know, why is that hard, man? You know, especially, like I say, look at these guys. I'm a real young nigga. I'm a young, rich nigga getting money. Like, come on, man. Like, that ain't...
Hey, that's the strange plan of a degenerate vine.
Good.
Like, I was thinking, like, we went from King David to 21 Savage. Well, that's a little young rapper. We went from, like, that's a degenerate vine. We went from, what's another mighty man? King Solomon.
Samson.
We went from Samson to Young Thug. Y'all know who Young Thug is. All right, so hey, that's the same nation of people, man.
Excuse me, brother. I can show this picture. Yeah. This LeBron. He got the Roman reef across his head, man. If the camera can see it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, it's just showing you. Hey, that's Jake, man. This ain't no Edomite. This is a big, tall, athletic nigga.
He's a Grecian.
Yeah, dunking on folks, man.
Hey,
You know?
that's why the scripture states we became the fallen ones, man. Why? Because we left that stature and that status of being Israelites to becoming that degenerate vine. Niggas.
That's the, what do they call it, effects of slavery.
Effects of slavery. And I got 3 quick ones. And this is Matthew 18 and 11. Hey, Matthew 18 and 11. For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost.
Woo!
Go ahead, bro.
If I can just expound on that, how can, in order to be lost, you have to be home at first. You have to be home to be lost. So how can you save actual Gentiles if they were never home? You know, how can you actually be forsaken if you were never a part of it, man? That is all I want to say.
I must be allowed to read this.
Right, Esau's not lost. He's not lost. If you actually even want to believe that Esau is the real Israelite, then he's not lost. He's in the land. He's everywhere. He got embassies, and you see him with this pride he got here in good old America. You know, you see that pride that he got, man. He walking around with the flag, waving it and shit. You know, drinking Budweiser. Got a Budweiser hat on. He's at the football game, painting his body. You know, and he owned all these businesses. He's not lost. He knows his history.
He knows he's Jewish.
Yep.
Where the other tribes at then?
Right. It's you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans that don't know who you are, man. Yeah. Because you got Issachar, they'll be speaking the Spanish and shit. And, you know, talking shit. Where that Spanish come from, man?
Yeah, that's not y'all real culture.
You know?
And this is Matthew 15 and 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Look, it's plain. You don't even have to go into a translation or the etymology with that. Because what did it say in Jeremiah 50 and 17? No, was it Jeremiah 50 and 17 or Psalms 50 and 17? Israel is a scattered sheep. Jeremiah 50 and 17? So, like, can you read that real quick?
And if I could say this, he had he was talking to the Pharisees, and they was talking about the Sabbath. And he was saying how it's okay to do good on the Sabbath. But what did he say about that sheep? He said, so on the Sabbath, if you lost one of your sheep and it got away, Are you not going to go work all day to go find it?
Yep, that's what
So the Lord coming for his men, them lost sheep. You know, just like in John chapter 10, he was telling you, hey, you can't pluck those sheep out of the Lord's hand, man. You can't do it. Because that's straight from the Heavenly Father, man.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 6. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place.
They have gone from mountain to hill, from government, to nation to nation. They forgot their resting place, because what did it say in Deuteronomy 28? You will be scattered amongst other nations, and you're going to serve other gods with a stone. So now you fast forward from Deuteronomy 28, you go into the Greco-Roman Empire, you got Israelites offering up sacrifice to Bacchus. Now we just left a restaurant out in Mississippi, it's called Bacchus, where they serve wine. So you got, it said you're going to worship other gods with a stone. Now you got LeBron James, man. All right, you had that culture. The second Maccabees expounds on what we read in the New Testament. Second Maccabees explains the strangers in Rome, to the strangers in Bithynia, to the strangers in Asia Minor. Second Maccabees explains that transition.
And the leaders making them go astray. Because who that was, Jason, you know, who was willing to sell out and called the rest of the nation to take on the influence of the Greeks. You know, so they leaders called them to go astray, man, to get deep into their Greek culture, man. Because our people, the reason why people are always considered like sheep, because what? A sheep needs a shepherd, man. Without a shepherd, sheep will get into everything, man.
And the brother just said that. Sheep get lost. You know, that's why the scriptures say how necessary patience in seeking the Lord is better than he that leadeth his life without a guide. Israel needs guidance. You know, we need leaders. Like the elder just said, the real shepherds are back, because Yahweh Shai, he's known as the good shepherd, but the main shepherd, he set up other shepherds, man. You know, the true pastors. You know, like the Lord said, he would give us pastors according to his heart. You seeing them, man, beginning with the apostles and elders.
And it said, the man of the Lord will know the state of his flocks. You know, so yeah, the true shepherds gonna know the state of the flocks. They ain't gonna let the sheep just wander off, go off, man. Like some people do. They just be doing whatever the hell they want out here. Now the shepherds are back like, no, repent. Kingdom of heaven here, man. Yeah. You don't get your mind right, you're gonna get destroyed. You know?
Nate is a hireling. Nate, Johanna, y'all hirelings. Rakav, GOCC, you know, etc.
Judas goats. Hey, this is Acts 2 and 5. It states, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation.
That's the point. There were Jews. Read that again, brother Bakasha.
Acts 2 and 5, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation.
Because what was going on? Wasn't it the Passover?
Yeah.
When they celebrated the Passover?
Pentecost.
The Pentecost?
Yeah.
Is it the Pentecost?
Yeah, Pentecost.
Is that Deuteronomy 8 and 16? Or Deuteronomy 8 and 8? Does anybody know that?
Deuteronomy 16.
16 to 16. Can you get that real quick?
Deuteronomy 16.
Because you had Jews that were Israelites and they were scattered, but they still came to Jerusalem during the high holy days, man. 3 times a year.
This Deuteronomy 16. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Most High, thy power, in the place where he had chosen.
And what's the place that he chose? All in Israel. Go ahead.
And the
Jerusalem.
And the feast of unleavened bread, and the feast of weeks,
yep,
and the feast of tabernacle, that shall appear before the Most High empty.
So can you read Acts 2 again?
Yeah, come on. Hey, this is Acts 2 and 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
That's why there are dwelling in Israel Jews, devout men. All right, yep.
Hey, and also if you look in the Greek for every, it goes back to pause, meaning like out of all, right? So when you break down nation, it goes into ethnos. And I'm just going to get to the point. It states a multitude of individuals of the same nature or genus.
Yeah.
Meaning Israelites, man.
Hey, Hey, go get your precepts. You hold us up still?
No. This is Acts 6:1 in the New Living Translation.
As a matter of fact, this is how we're gonna do it through the Spirit. Get it with the KJV first, and then you get it with the KJV, then we're gonna get it with the NLT. All right? Somebody type on the soda.
This is Acts verse 6. This is Acts chapter 6, verse 1. In those days when the number of the disciples were multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews.
So I guess reading the face value, there was a murmuring of so-called white people against the Hebrews, because at this point the so-called white people were Christians. All right, go ahead.
Because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration.
Okay, well, let's see what it says in the New Living Translation for further edification.
All right, this is the book of Acts chapter 6 in the New Living Translation. But as the believers rapidly multiplied, there were rumblings of discontent. The Greek-speaking believers complained about the Hebrew-speaking believers, saying that their widows were being discriminated against in the daily distribution of food.
Because it said the Greek-speaking believers. Because who were the Greek-speaking believers, man? They were Israelites that spoke Greek. Can we back it up with the scriptures? Can we back it up with the history? Who has the Zondervan Bible Dictionary? Did somebody get, is it Grecian? Okay, it's for further edification. Let's get that, man.
You know, you got Hellenists too.
You got Hellenists. So whichever one, you know, I think that's the one.
Okay. This is the right tool.
Okay.
It says this in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary for the word Hellenist. It said Jews who made Greek their tongue, and with it often adopted Greek ideas and practices.
It said Jews that made Greek their tongue. So can you please read the NLT again?
Hey, Elder, you know what's funny? They changed that on the blue letter. You know,
yeah, they did.
Because when you look that up, they'll tell you it's not only a Jew, or it's not a Jew that made Greek their tongue, etc. Yeah, you know, just incorporating everybody.
You can't change a book though. You can only make another copy of the book, reprint. You can't change something that's already in physical form. You got to quick one out.
It's going into Acts 6. The New International Version it go in better on this.
Okay.
This Acts chapter 6 verse 1 in the New International Version. It say in those days when the number of disciples was increasing, the Hellenistic Jews among them complained against the Hebraic Jews because their widows were being overlooked in the daily distribution of food.
You can rotate between the KJV and what you could do. Another thing you could do besides going to the etymology of the Blue Letter Bible, you could also use the NIV and the NLT to further kind of crack that stronghold open, man.
On some of the scriptures.
On some of the scriptures. You got to use it to your discretion. All right, is it more than that?
I got another definition for you.
All right, go ahead.
All right, this is the word Grecians, all right, in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. And it said Grecians were Greek-speaking Jews, folks of the dispersion from areas predominantly Greek.
Hey, Grecians were Greek-speaking Jews because in the King James Bible, it referred to the Israelites over there from Greece, Grecians. But we're the Israelites in America, we call the Americans. All right, but if you break it down, it'll really be the American-speaking Jews. That's what we are. We are American-speaking Jews. Get you a quick point right quick.
All right, and I'm going to read this in Leviticus 23, because the brother was reading Acts 2nd chapter earlier. It's Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 15. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days.
Yep.
You get the word Pentecost.
Yeah.
And ye shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahweh.
Because penta means 5, and cost means what, 10?
I believe so, yeah.
Like 10 times 5 is 50?
Yeah, 10 times 5,
I think that's how you get that? Can somebody get in the King James Bible, St. John 7:35?
I got it in the new, I'm there in the new
Yeah, King James first. That's how we, anytime we, like through the Spirit.
Oh, yeah, come.
Now, I'm going to say it against you, brother, but I was saying like through the Spirit, anytime we're going to do it that way, that's how we're going to do it. All right?
John 7 verse 35. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we should not find him? Will he go into the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles?
What do you, it said, read that again.
Good. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we should not find him? will he go into the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles?
Where do you get the word diaspora from? The word diaspora means dispersed. So what does the diaspora explain? When the Jews are kicked out of their land and they were dispersed to the other lands. So when it say when he go to the dispersed among the Gentiles, who is that talking about, man? All right, go ahead, Yashima, preach Yashima.
This is the New International Version in John 7:35. It said, the Jews said one another, where does this man intend to go that we cannot find him? Will he go where our people live scattered among the Greeks and teach the Greeks?
Said, will he go, read that again, brother?
John 7:35 in the New International Version. The Jews said one another, where does this man intend to go that we cannot find him? Will he go? Say, will he go where our people live?
Where our people live. The Jews and Israelites are asking because they knew. They knew that their people were dispersed based on the diaspora. Based in 2 Kings. We were kicked out of our land and the Babylonians sent us away.
Yep.
And then we got Hellenized with the Maccabean period. Isn't it history?
Can I say something, Elder?
Yep.
Because it happened to the whole nation. That's why the Lord said how he would cast Judah off just like he cast off the whole seed of Ephraim. Ultimately, it happened to all of us. Like, with Judah, Benjamin, Levi, with the Babylonians, and also, like you said, the northern kingdom with the Assyrians. But, I read that for the brother in Deuteronomy 23, because going back to Acts 2nd chapter, some of us that was dispersed amongst the other nations, we still kept it. That's why they knew to come to Jerusalem.
Yeah,
but what would you call the Jews that were scattered amongst the nations that didn't know it? You would call them Gentiles. Yeah. It's simple, man.
It's simple.
Some of them knew and some of them didn't.
Just like we in this truth now, right? We call it taking the world niggas. Because they they got tatted up everywhere. They sag and they commit adultery. They our people, but shit, we'll call them what Esau call them, man. Because we look at them like, but at the same time, we were once them. You see? But
I just got something real quick. This old dictionary from 1908. I gotta separate, put in some more books. But this is talking about, this is Antiochus the fourth. That's Antiochus Epiphanes. And I'll start.
Go ahead.
I'll start right here in the definition. It says his plans were first put into active operation probably towards the end of BC 170 when he returned from Egypt, although the chronology at this point is very obscure and it may have been a couple of years later. He plundered the temple of some of its treasures, including the 7-branch candlestick, the altar of incense, and the table of showbread. He also placed a garrison in the citadel of Jerusalem and set about the complete Hellenizing of Judea. Circumcision and the observance of the Sabbath were forbidden under penalty of death. Pagan sacrifices were ordered in every town in Judea, and every month a search was made to discover whether any Jew possessed a copy of the law or had circumcised his children.
Checking rods.
Yeah, so you couldn't even, they was checking the rods. You couldn't even circumcise the children or have the law in your house. In December 168 BC, a pagan altar, probably to Olympian Zeus, was erected on the altar of burnt offering, and the entire Jewish worship seemed threatened with the extinction.
2nd Maccabees 6.
Spirit.
It says,
I got it over here.
Okay, damn.
And the entire Jewish worship, meaning our whole way of life, man, seemed threatened with the extinction. This probability was increased by the apostasy of the high priest. All right, and that's pretty much the bulk of it. There's a whole bunch more in this book, man. But it's pretty much just showing you, man. It said that pretty much our law and everything. He said he set on the complete Hellenizing of our people, man. It was like he was coming in the house. He said a search every month, pulling your son's pants down, checking to see if they was circumcised or not. So you couldn't even get circumcised, you get put to death. If you had a law under the bed or somewhere hidden, you get put to death. You keeping the Sabbath, you get put to death. That's why in 2 Maccabees, I believe chapter 7, about the mother and her 7 sons, they got put to death just for not eating pork, man. So you think our people didn't know who they were? Yeah, they were scattered. Of course they didn't know who they were, man. Look at what the hell he just did. You know?
We'll prove these the same people in slavery. That's why they was killing Jake for reading the Bible, man.
Right.
It's the same people. Hellenizing them then, you know?
In this time, what the scripture says is going to be a great insurrection against those men who fear the Most High, man, keep His commandments, man.
Yeah, back then they were being Americanized, you know.
This time.
Yeah. Right. And it's the same thing. If I can say this, that's called westernization.
Right.
That's all it is.
Hey, this is 1 Maccabees 1:57. And whosoever was found with the book of the Testament, or if it, Salakia, let me start back over. I got to calm down.
Getting a little excited.
Yeah. 1 Maccabees 1:57. And whosoever was found with the book of the Testament.
Go to 54, 53.
Or if any committed to the law, the king commandment was that they should put him to death.
That's it. Right. So yeah, it's just letting you know, hey man.
It was the law.
It was the law. And you think that's not gonna happen again?
Right.
We out here condemning this man's kingdom. Yeah. You don't even like Jake kneeling at a football game at the damn banner. We over here condemning a whole entire kingdom and talking about enslaving them, man.
The whole infrastructure, man.
So yeah, you think, and that was Antiochus. It really started before him, but they said also in this dictionary, it said Antiochus was also called a madman. Like that became his title, like a madman. That's how much he was slaying Jake, man. He was killing Jake for no reason, really. And when this time come, they're gonna do the same thing because he was trying to establish a new world order.
They shall be as madmen sparing none. Book
Yep.
2 of the 16.
Madmen sparing none.
Same thing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's gonna be, hey, they're gonna come down on the men of the Lord, taking everything. Pretty much anybody who know they're an Israelite, man.
Yeah.
Right.
IUIC, ISUBK, you know you an Israelite, hey, they coming down on you, man.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, not just us. It's gonna be all of us, man.
They gonna group us together.
Mm-hmm. We all gonna be grouped up in one. Matter of fact, what was that article yesterday? It said the Israelites are growing more and more militant.
Yep.
It's time, though.
Yeah, you got them ISUPK on the cover, man.
Yep.
So you know, pretty much, you giving Esau something to look for. You know, so he's gonna be justified when he comes at Jake, man. Cause you holding arms and stuff. You know, y'all taking pictures on Instagram with guns and shit. You know, and basically IUIC, y'all the same too, man. Yeah. You know, marching, doing cadences and stuff like that. So you pretty much showing Esau that you basically coming up against the system carnally, man.
Yeah, and these devils know the difference between the Israelites that are bearing arms and the Israelites that are not. But you know they're gonna lump everybody together because the world is ignorant. You know, like you have like they know the difference. I just put it like that. Y'all got it.
Yeah, 2 Maccabees 6, you was holding that?
They said 6 and 6. And I got
Okay.
Yeah, 6 and 6. Yep.
Yeah, you got it, brother. Okay. And just read on down.
Hey, and you got to remember that these are decrees. They said that it was a law among the Greeks that you couldn't circumcise your children, you couldn't read the law, you couldn't have a copy of the law. When you go back during the time of Daniel, it said at what time the cornet sounds and all that all nations are supposed to bow down to the image of Nebuchadnezzar, right? So, and then whoever want to do it, they would be put to death. That's why Daniel was thrown in the lion's den. In another decree, that's why the 3 children were thrown in the furnace, because there were actual laws in the books that you had to follow, otherwise you would be put to death. Legislation, which is they have it today. It's the same thing today. That's what the scriptures say. Woe unto him that the decree of unrighteous decrees. You know?
All right, this is 2 Maccabees.
That's where that great persecution is coming from. In these times, there's going to be a great persecution that's going to come to the people of the Lord that believe in the Lord. You know? You got it, bro.
2 Maccabees 6, verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
This is what you call the beginning of Hellenization, or what we call today Westernization. All right, go ahead.
It says, in the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices.
Yep.
And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus, carry Ivy.
Bacchus is the god of wine. And Jews going there to procession to sacrifice. You literally had Israelites in single file line with offerings to Bacchus, man, to the temple, man. All right, go ahead.
Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices.
Yep.
And whoso will not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death.
So that's Westernization. So it basically says in Maccabees, read that last part again,
It says, and whoso will not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles.
What's the manners of the Gentiles? The fashions of the Greek. Y'all saw the movie Alexander, right? You know what they'll do after they conquer the city? They'll get a teenage boy and sodomize him, and it'll be fun. But guess what? Now, what you have with this coach, there was the coach at this college, there was accused of messing with them little boys.
Sandusky, whatever.
Sandusky, he was a fucking Grecian.
Right.
So basically, if you didn't become like a Grecian, going into the Olympics, shaving your beard, taking off your garment, all right, and wearing a goofy ass Grecian hats that was wearing, there was a style back then. If you weren't gonna do that, and ultimately if you were gonna sacrifice your kids, if you weren't gonna eat pork, guess what's gonna happen? All right, go ahead.
If I can say this,
yep.
And this time they was actually killing Jake.
Yep.
But now in this time during the Westernization, since Esau was in control of all the resources, now what does he do if you don't become conform to the Westernization, man? He limits your money, man.
Right.
That's why Colin Kaepernick or anybody with some type of rank in this system, man, these celebrities, if they don't come all the way in, eventually they don't come all the way in, Esau cut off their money supply, man. And if you broke, that's almost like being dead, man.
And he does it to countries as well. Any country that says to hell with y'all put puppet leaders in our country, to hell with y'all GMOs, central banks, basically the central bank. What happens? He puts sanctions on them. And they get cut off from the fatness of the earth, man. They get cut off from that global economy, that global trade. And they have to suffer, man.
That's what happened to Venezuela. Yeah. They stopped the flow of the dollar going into Venezuela. Ever since Hugo Chavez came against them, you know what I'm saying, started calling them the devil, you know what I'm saying U.S. had to be taken down. Because the guy that's president now, he was a protege of Hugo Chavez. He tried to follow right in his steps, man. Maduro, man. Because that's what the U.S. did, man. Ever since they basically took Chavez out in 2013, they stopped the flow of the dollar from going into Venezuela. They just now starting to feel the effect, 4 years later, man.
It says, the second Maccabees 6, verse 9. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles.
Now, what does it say? Is that wrong? Be not conformed to this world.
Right.
So what is it? Read that again.
Good. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death.
Hey, that's heavy, man. All right, was there anything?
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
To conform, that means to take on the image.
Woo. Now, what does it say? What does it say in Revelation? How they took on the image of the beast? What's that beast? It's the Roman Empire, man. Right. So what's the image? The likeness of the Roman Empire. Right. The system, like you have in China, got the McDonald's. You got the Asian chicks going blind. All right? But the Roman Empire is really an extension of the Greek Empire during the Hellenization period, man. All right. You about to say something real quick?
Then what did it say in Revelation? Those who did worship the image of the beast, they was caused to be put to death.
Right? Yep. So, hey, it's all synchronized, man. All right, go ahead.
In the movie Birth of a Nation, what they do? They had set up Nat Turner to go and teach the slaves a false doctrine to keep them away from who they are, to keep them from rebelling, man.
And you know what? That goes back to like in 2 Maccabees 4, they had Jason. They used Jason to convert the Israelites over to that Grecian way. Mm-hmm. That's sort of like how they did it during slavery. They use our own people to convert us to their little pagan doctrine of Christianity, man.
Right. So that's how even Jake was being used
back
to help Hellenize Jake, man. It was Jake kicking down doors where the law is. I know what to look for. Let me show you that planet of the most recent. Yeah, Donkey. God damn it, Donkey. Yeah, he was in there, and he was checking them. He knew the signs. He knew what to look for. You know, so Jake was being put to death because he had the lost stash. He was like, I know where they hide it. Hey man, because it even say that in the book of Maccabees, it say that Jake was consenting. Yeah. Jake was joining teams with him and enforcing that law. Just like you see him now, Jake be bald-headed, booty face.
Fraternity, he'll be a Q dog with a big ass horseshoe on his fucking forearm.
Right, he got a face like a baby's ass, man. Over there being a cop with shades on, man.
Hey, you know what? You know when you do that, Salak, you know the Apollo in Harlem, before they form, they gotta rub that wooden stand.
Oh, yep.
It's like that Grecian ritual. It's like a ritual, basically, man. Because Apollo was Grecian. Apollo. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta rub the little wooden stand before you perform.
Yeah, you got Jake doing both hands.
Yeah.
Pray to it, you know, everything, so they can sing good, man.
Still get that moved off.
Right. Yeah. Sandman coming for him, man. But see, the thing, if Jake don't, and we showing through the scriptures, man. And that dictionary, I put a video on it for brothers, you know, download it for free. I don't know if it's still out there now. It's been a while, but you know, those guys, they go into the history, man, of a lot. They go into the history of a lot, and they also call Esau an Edomite, man. Antiochus, it calls all them Edomite. Haman, the Maccabees, they all Edomites. And it gets into that, man. So it goes into the history, it's showing you that this is the same people, man. Same people coming. Oh, no, you got it, bro. I was just making this point, you know. This is the same people coming back doing the same thing. And they Hellenized Jake here. You know, Jake, because Jake in Africa knew who they were. That's why you had the kingdom of Guida. You had the kingdom of Benin.
Which is Judah.
Exactly, Judah. And Benin was Benjamin. You know, so you had the kingdoms there. You had Gad, Reuben, Ephraim, all the northern tribes here. They knew who they were.
They had it on the stones. They had either Assyrian Hebrew in their history, or they had straight up Paleo Hebrew with the stone out there in New Mexico, right?
Exactly, the Paleo Hebrew. But what did Esau do? Esau came and Hellenized them, man. Because, hey, that's what Columbus was mainly doing.
Hellenizing everybody.
Yeah, he brought missionaries, man. He brought them monks and missionaries, and they came down here, and what did they do? They Hellenized the rest of the people.
Hey, part of that, right. Hey, part of that Hellenization was the propaganda. Part of that Hellenization was back, you know, when you go into your social studies, and you look at picture of Gad in your social studies book, it'd be Gad with a thong on dancing around the fire. Part of that Hellenization is to make anything outside of that look like it's primitive.
Yeah.
So before we got Hellenized, we were in West Africa butt naked in the field, in the jungles. So in a lot of Israelites' mind shit, like it was kind of good we came to America. And
you remember that guy years back?
Yeah, he told us that.
Yeah, it was a guy years back who actually came to our camp, you know, and he was he's like, well, you know, it's kind of good we came to America. I was like, man, what's wrong with you? He was like, see, you get an education here. We weren't really doing nothing in Africa, you know. We was in the wild, you know. So he had no idea, man. The guy was simple, man.
That was part of the Hellenization came with propaganda. Propaganda told you if you wasn't like America, you was a primitive person.
Hey, and you remember the guy who pulled up in the Astro van with the rims? When we was teaching right across the street.
Oh, yeah, detail shop.
Yeah, detail shop guy. He had the Astro van, and he said America was the kingdom of heaven, man. So you mean to tell me these people ain't Hellenized?
Hey, that's the Golden City.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is.
Same people, man.
Yeah, just a quick example. If you don't conform to the ways of American society, this by Gaddafi, why he was killed. It says Gaddafi wanted to create a continental currency and a Central African bank, then back it by the continent's natural resources. This will give African leaders control of the continent and end neo-colonialism. It also will have bankrupted all other large economies whose currency were backed by tangible resources.
Hey, and as Heavy said, we're in neo-colonialism, which neo means new, right? Yeah. So basically, it prevents the spread of the New World Order as far as money is concerned, or the spread of westernization. Because colonialism is basically, I'm spreading my philosophy throughout the world.
Yeah, yeah.
You had the 13 colonies in America.
Yeah.
There was basically the westernization of America, the beginning of it, man.
Yeah, colonization.
Colonization.
Yeah.
So new colonization mixed with the prevention of the New World Order, man. It's the same thing. Is there more to that?
That's it.
All right, y'all somebody?
Okay.
First,
Con.
Second Maccabees 4.
Second Maccabees, chapter 4, and starting at let's see here, starting at verse 7. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus called Epiphanes took the kingdom, Jason, the brother of Onias, labored underhand to be high priest, promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver, and of another revenue 80 talents. Beside this, he promised to assign an 150 more, if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise.
Set him up a place for exercise. What do you have in the Greek world? Gymnasiums, gyms, because that was very, very popular in Greece, man. A place of exercise. Now, everywhere you go in America, every corner has what? A gymnasium. Planet Fitness, 24/7. Workout anytime. It's the same thing.
Gymnos.
Huh? Gymnos, which means naked.
Yeah.
And you go into the history, you actually got so-called Negroes running around naked during the Grecian Empire.
Well, you got the WWE. Now, what do you guys do in wrestling? The music come on, and what they come out in? They come out with the underwear, the Speedos on, or whatever the hell they got, and they sweating and shit. You know, like Triple H. Triple H don't even be sweating. He just come out there, drink a bottle of water, and blow it in the air, rub it out in his face and stuff, and walking around showing their bodies off. And that's what they were mainly, they be flexing. You know, you had guys like Scott Steiner, roided up, flexing and all that, doing Lex Luger doing the torture rack, all these different things. Right. So that's that same nature coming back that was back then. Or that gym, because really, the reason why they in that type of clothing, in those Speedos and different stuff like that, is because really they did it naked.
Right.
Back then.
Gymnos.
You know?
Yep. And as a matter of fact, me and bro was just speaking about it, but during the time of the Olympics, they have that Sports Illustrated body issue. They were showing all different athletes, they actually naked. They don't show their full shit, but they basically naked when they taking them photos, man. You know, showing you, they going right back to the origin of that stuff.
Yeah, that's on ESPN now. You know, I was chilling at me and my woman was chilling at a Mexican restaurant, and we're just watching ESPN, eating some nachos, man. And we're watching the highlights. Then after they take a break from the highlights, guess whose body is this?
I saw that shit.
Butt ass naked, man. Except they ain't showing the ride or nothing, but they showing the ass, man. I'm like, man, like ass all out. I'm like, man, what the hell is this? Don't children watch this shit, man?
Disturbing to see man ass.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's disturbing, man. Especially when you're not expecting to see no shit like that, man.
Even in the movies, they show a man's ass, man.
Right, and that's Greece.
Yep.
That's Rome. It's here again, man.
Beside this, he promised to assign 150 more, if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise and for the training up of youth in the fashions of the heathen.
If you go into the Greek history, when it was Hellenizing everybody, it was very, very popular for an Israelite to be like 15, 16 in a place of a gymnasium, man, in a place of exercise. It's actually in Maccabees, they play games of discus. When they threw the disc, now they have frisbees, but they still have games like that.
Right, they have it in Olympics.
Olympics, that goes back to the Greeks. Go ahead.
And to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians, which is similar, but said it wasn't lawful for them to call themselves a Jew. It wasn't lawful for a man to confess himself to be a Jew. You calling yourself Antiochian, you just saying you a Greek.
Because America, it's a lot. America goes back to Amerigo Vespucci, right? Another damn Edomite.
You call yourself by an Edomite name, you saying you American.
Isn't Vespucci Italian? Is that an Italian name? Which Rome, Italy, which goes back, which is birthed from basically Greece. Right. It's the same thing. I mean, it's the same people, Esau. So that's like that's like Jake calling themselves an Antiochian today. I'm an American. No, I'm an Antiochian. It's the same thing. Go ahead, Yash.
This the definition of Hellenization of Apostle wanted me to get. It's the ancient word prehistoric Eros to 600 CE, which this Hellenization Say Hellenization was the spread of Greek culture and the assimilation into Greek culture of non-Greek peoples. Just break it down.
Hey, you had this. Hey, you had the movie. Y'all remember the first Roots? Y'all remember the first movie Roots? And he had this little chick that he was talking to back in Africa, right? Fanta. And then what happened was he saw her again in America, and he started talking to her in basically the Hebrew tongue.
Right.
She was like, "What is that nation? I mean, like, what is that tongue? I don't know that tongue." He was like, "Baby, you don't remember our tongue? You don't remember our language?" And he was like, he said something, and she was like, "Look, I'm just trying to survive."
She said, I forgot all that stuff there when we got here.
I forgot all that when I got here because I'm trying to survive.
Right.
So that was the birth of Keisha right there.
Right.
That was the birth of Eve right there. She forgot the Hebrew. She probably started straightening her hair out.
Right.
She probably started talking like a so-called white man around massa. So that was the beginning of that, man. All right.
And then what happens is she passed that same ideology to her kids.
Yep.
Right.
And then they pass that on to their kids, which are the continuance of that Gentile state of mind.
Yeah. Well, so it's like say something. A woman, she can pass it off to a man too. Because see, and that's basically what Eve did with Adam.
Yep.
You know, because the serpent got to Eve first.
Yep.
You know, it's easier for a woman to assimilate because she's the weaker vessel.
And then what happens in the so-called black community, man? If your mama didn't do it, what Keisha trying to let you do? She try to get you to go to church.
Right.
He trying to get you to go to church. Your mama trying to get you to what? Go to college. Go into the military. My mom told me that. Trying to get you to go into the military. I'm like, and die? But the point is, that goes back to Hellenization, man. What we call successful now is basically assimilating into Greek culture.
Right.
Is there more to that, brother?
It's going to go in.
Okay.
It said it was a notable trait of ancient Greek civilization, an approach to other cultures that was not merely invasive or dominant, but transformative.
Because America's a dominant culture. So
It said transformative.
Come.
I read it again, saying an approach to other cultures that was not merely invasive or dominant, but transformative.
Come.
I said, this set an example later, followed by the Roman Empire, Christianity, and the British Empire, essentially establishing a framework within which much of Western history can be discussed.
Yeah, because that's why the so-called Christianity that you have today goes back to the ancient Roman Empire, which it was nothing more than pagan worship incorporated into the scriptures, so to speak.
If I could say this, Apostle, they basically gave the Babylonian names and the Egyptian names Christian titles. The Holy Roman Empire. So instead of Semiramis Tammuz, it was the Virgin Mary and the Immaculate Conception with baby Jesus. Okay, the Trinity. All right, Osiris, Horus, Isis, Hell. But what do you have? Like the brother mentioned, 12 years a slave. They was teaching the slaves Christianity. Even the movie Goodbye Catan, they had all the slaves going to the Catholic priest, the Roman Catholic priest. It's a lot.
Hey, that's why in that fast forwarding from that time, if you even watch the movie Malcolm X, where he was up in a shop getting his hair permed, he's like, hot, you know, that's him. That's that Hellenization, man.
Right.
Because you look good with a perm, not your regular hair.
It's like it, brother, because they were trying to be like the so-called white man.
Right.
You know, the same thing they were trying to be like the Greeks. That's why they didn't circumcise themselves. They would keep certain customs. You know, but back then it was Hellenization. Today is Americanization or Westernization.
And if I can say this, if you go into Maccabees, which the brother's going to go into it, the Hellenization was very lucrative, man. Yeah. They started out forcing people to do it, but after a while, Jake was fiending for that Hellenization culture, man.
Hey, that's why that master when there were certain men that were making money off of like those statues of Diana and of that teaching. And when Paul was out there teaching, they said, man, we got to do something about this guy. He fucking our money up.
Yeah, come. But you went into that. That's why those guys, that one guy stuck Tommy Sotomayor. Because Tommy Sotomayor, he was fucking the money up.
Yep.
You know, because them guys in the so-called black conscious community, they worship the black woman, but it's a business.
Yep.
You know, so he's known for coming against the black woman, so get this nigga. Like, we got him. He right here. Because, you know.
Really, if I can say this too, because they had two things against Paul. It was fucking up the money, and it was an offense because they worship What was that? Who was that they worship?
Jupiter.
Diana.
Oh, so
Yeah, Diana.
Which was
Yeah.
Semiramis in the history.
Yeah.
It was Semiramis when, because the so-called conscious Jake, they called a black woman God. But really, they coming into the spirit of worshiping Diana.
Yeah, and it said that was the image that fell from Jupiter.
Come.
Now Jupiter is, we were just talking about, Jupiter is the Roman way of saying Zeus.
Yep. Zeus.
You know?
Come.
Which they would, Apollo, Zeus.
Come.
Jupiter was supposed to be like the head deity among the Romans and the Greeks.
Come.
You know?
Nimrod.
Yeah, Nimrod. Same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing.
And brothers were speaking on circumcision. A lot of Jake in America are uncircumcised.
Yep.
And now, not too long ago, the hospital was saying they're going to make it hard for you to circumcise your children.
Yeah.
It's the same place, man. But a lot of Jake, mainly ones who don't know they Israelites, they not circumcised, man.
Yeah.
They not circumcised at all. And just even speaking on that, that's not good. You know, because actually when you uncircumcised, that shit leads to a whole bunch of problems, man.
Because they, you've been saying
And bacteria and all that different stuff, man.
That foreskin that you don't cut off, it retains the bacteria. Like, if you peel it back, I'm assuming brother circumcised, but if you got foreskin, you peel it back. That's like it's like under your fingernails.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So you gotta get it cut off so it won't retain all that infections, man.
Yeah. Especially when you're dealing with women.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Especially for brothers who get it on a lot. Hey, you gotta be circumcised, man. You know? Because that's what circumcision is for, man. Yeah, you wash it and you clean it off and you go, man.
Yeah.
You know, hey, everything that the Lord gave us was good. That's why Esau part here, he's a base, vile man. He don't give a damn about being circumcised. That's why he was going in houses, like we read earlier, doing a search once a month, looking at rods, man. Y'all circumcised? You know? Make sure these niggas uncircumcised around here, man. These niggas over here just cutting the foreskin off.
And you Jake's so bugged out, man. I told this Jake at work, you know, cause Jake is, they becoming conscious, but they bugged out with it. They in that black conscious stuff, that Pan-Africanism. Jake gonna say, well, you know, they're making us get circumcised today. How do you know that God didn't intend for us to be uncircumcised? Cause you're born that way. You know, well, that's that African shit, man. You know, cause the Philistines, you read the scriptures, the scriptures speak about how the Philistines, they were uncircumcised. You know, they would say Israel would say those uncircumcised Philistines, so they were known for that, man. You know,
it was an agreement the Lord made. Circumcision was an agreement the Lord made to separate us from the other nations. Just like He gave us a law that separated us from other nations. The circumcision was a sign that the Lord made as an agreement that we were the Lord's people.
Come on. Simple.
It's easy.
Easy.
This back into the to Hellenization. It said the products of culture spread by Hellenization included Greek language and writing systems.
Now, what did it say in the NLT? What's it? St. John 7:35, the Greek-speaking Jews. No, no, Acts 6:1. The Greek-speaking Jews. That's what that's going into. That's the birthday that Yashuma's reading. Go ahead.
It's myth and religion, and this technology and art, not mere ideals, but practical and exploitable benefits.
Yep.
Skip down, because this really go
hard.
It said, in the meantime, even Roman control areas became more Hellenized. Greek was the language of trade and culture.
Oh, now what do you guys know to fly airplane now in the Air Force? You gotta know English. All right? English is the international language of trade, basically, man. If you want to get on the global economy, all right, go ahead.
It said the common tongue necessary for travelers.
Woo!
Link right with it.
Yep.
Hey, they call it the lingua franca. That's another way of saying it. Just like America today, the English language is like the lingua franca, or the Frank language. What's that?
That's the
beats.
I don't even see it. You know, that's the lingua franca. You know, or like the common language.
Yeah,
common language. Yeah.
All right, go ahead, brother.
It said, Palestine became strongly Hellenized.
Exactly. Say that again.
Palestine became strongly Hellenized to the extent that Greek forms of names displaced the Semitic originals.
So that's why you got the Jupiter and Semiramis, all right? But also, they was putting Greek titles on the ancient prophets' names, man. All right?
This is that Final Judgment video y'all did. It say with Yeshua becoming Jesus.
Oh man.
Which we know is Yahweh Shai.
Right.
I'm just reading how it was, but with Yahweh Shai becoming Jesus, for instance. More and more Jewish leaders feared that their people would lose their identity.
If I can say something, that's why when you read in Ecclesiasticus, the prologue, Yahweh Shai, the son of Sirach, him and his grandfather had the same name. Right. He said the same things other than Hebrew, but translated in another tongue, having not the same force in them. And he said that because it says how he was living during Euergetes the king, which is one of the Ptolemies. Yep. So he was living during that Greek Empire. That's why you have books like the Septuagint and etc. That's why the New Testament was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Because the Israelites were speaking different languages because we was living in these different kingdoms, man.
I all spoke Greek.
Yep.
Can you get your point?
I got you. This is 2 Maccabees chapter 4.
Finish up the point. You want? Okay.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
I didn't know he had more.
It say Palestine became strongly Hellenized to the extent that Greek forms of names displaced the Semitic originals, with Yahweh Shai becoming Jesus. For instance, more and more Jewish leaders feared that their people would lose their identity.
Yeah, that's why you had a lot of Israelites in the Roman army that had Greek and Latin names, and they weren't recognized as being Jews because of their Greek and Latin names. Like you have Timothy's father. He wasn't. He was an Israelite, but he had a Greek name. Those people that Paul went to, when he gave shout outs to them people, what he did, he said Phoebe and the different Andronicus and different Aquila, Priscilla. They all had Greek names or Latin names. But they in particular, they knew that they were Israelites. But you had other Israelites that had those Greek and Latin names that didn't know that they were Israelites.
It's heavy because now we coming in America called Trevante, Dontavius. That's like Latin, right? Dontavius?
Shit.
Julius.
Julius?
Roman,
yep.
That's straight up Roman. Jermaine, which that's like really a derivative of Jeremiah, if I'm not mistaken. But a lot of us had those Greek names, man, them Latin names.
It's like Jake named Timothy.
Shit, well, we got English names today.
Yeah, Khan.
All the names today, English names or Spanish names, those are all names of the slave masters.
And going right back to the Latin and Greek.
Yeah.
Maria, Mary,
LeBron James' son named Bryce Maximus.
Maximus.
Like a nigga with names.
A Hellenized nigga?
Yes, it.
Hellenized nigga? All right, go ahead.
It's a little more.
Okay, go ahead, Yash.
It's a bad, hey, bro, you might have to hold on to that one.
Yeah.
Put that in your favorites.
I'm gonna put it on kick for the brothers to come. It said many Jewish practices and movements in antiquity were thus responses to Hellenization, whether they were revolutionary movements that sought to restore Jewish self-governance and exclusively of culture, or syncretic sects that blended traditional Jewish religion with pagan elements.
Yeah, that's that syncritical. That pretty much was a joining together of the Israelite culture with the Greek culture. It was like a synergy, a joining together.
If I can say this, what was it, Acts like 17 or 18? When they thought Paul and Barnabas was Jupiter
and Olympus. Jupiter and Mercurius.
Mercurius.
Yeah, because they called Paul Mercurius because he was the chief speaker. And they called Barnabas Jupiter, yeah. That's right.
That's that. Because one time when I was birthed in the truth when I first came in, it was this Jake, he was a vice lord. And I was like, that's a chariot. And he was like, yeah, they go back to the stars in Islam. And he had linked it right back to Islam. I was like, man, it's just like they Hellenized Jake, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, this it right here.
All right, go ahead, bro.
It said, whatever, I'm going to say the name. Whatever Yahweh Shai of Nazareth's contact with Greek culture, Christianity became extremely Hellenized in the wake of his death. The New Testament was...
You got it, bro. You got it.
The New Testament was written in Greek, and many early Christians were proselytes, Greek-speaking Gentiles who followed Jewish cultic practices without converting.
Which they were really Israelites, but they were just they were Israelites that were being brought back. Because the word convert, when you go back to the Hebrew, is shawab, which means to return. And you can't return to something that you were never a part of. You know?
So Jake have American flag shirt on, celebrating 4th of July. But meanwhile, you know, you got niggas who can't just accept. Right, drinking Budweisers, talking about we gonna do this when it comes to the military.
Popping fireworks on the 4th.
Right, pop fireworks, boom, you know. And and that's what they about, man. And for some reason, it's like hard for God. Well, that's really because it wasn't given to you and the Lord ain't dealing with you. But it makes no sense to say that this people ain't Hellenized. It makes no sense to say that Cornelius was an Edomite or he was teaching the heathen nations. When you see your people right in front of you with an American shirt on and you calling them Israelite, you know you're an Israelite, brother. You need to have some fringes on, you know, and all that different stuff. But at the same time, you don't want to accept Hellenists? Right. Yeah, this guy is flipping burgers and shit, man, with Captain America flip-flops on, man.
And it goes back to gradualization. You and the brother Malcolm in Dallas, the apostle and the brother Malcolm in Dallas, did the video on gradualization. That didn't start in the 60s. That started back when Esau first took over during the Grecian Empire, man. Jake was already getting converted back then, man. All right, you was going to bring out your point? This is going to be the closing scripture.
Yeah, come on. Second Maccabees.
Gradualization is pretty much just incrementally or a little at a time incorporating what you want. So you don't come straight out to the people and give them all at once. You just do it a little at a time. You introduce a little bit here, a little bit there, and before you know it, they assimilate, you know, those different things into one, so they become what you want them to become. But it's a process of time.
Yeah, like how they feminized Jake now. Yeah, he went from like the rugged alpha male rappers to like Young Thug wearing skinny jeans. It took time. It took time because what did you say, brother?
Doing that up in that wedding dress with the gun.
Jake Jerk boy, he's sucking the damn gun off. But the fact that it was gradualized, they did it with increments. Jake accepted, because a lot of young Jakes defend Young Thug like, nah, he just on some player shit. He just on some pimp shit. But go ahead with your point. We'll close it out with this.
But yeah, that's why Scripture say in the curses how Esau, he would put a yoke of iron up on our neck until he had destroyed us. You know, Brother Tazmark made a point. Yeah, you had the yokes of iron on our neck during slavery, but now Esau don't need the yoke on us, because Jake want to say, well, we're not slaves today. No, you've been broken already. There's no need to have you like that. They have your mind now.
You clock it in going to work.
Yeah.
Right. You clock it in.
You know, Second Maccabees chapter 4, verse 10, and I'm going to jump to verse 15. That's going to be it. All right, it says, which when the king had granted and he had gotten into his hand the rule, talking about Antiochus Epiphanes, all right, and Jason, he forthwith brought his own nation to the Greekish fashion. All right, jumping down to verse 15. All right, it says,
the American way.
Right.
Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all.
So they went from keeping the tradition of their forefathers to basically preferring the dominant culture back then, which was Hellenization, man.
They said they was fiending for it.
They was fiending for it, man. It was cool. That's like if you grew up.
And you got to remember though, those wicked Pharisees and Sadducees and even the righteous ones, they knew this history. Yeah. The Apostle Paul knew that history. You know, that's why he was the best man qualified to go and teach these Israelite foreigners. Everybody back there, this was a common thing. Today, it's not a common thing. People don't know that history unless they study the scriptures and go back to the origins of it. If you don't understand that, you don't understand when the scriptures speak about the Gentiles. There's no difference between a Jew or Gentile or Jew or Greek. Why is that? Because they're the same people. Just one of them speaking Hebrew, the other one speaking Greek. One of them is keeping the customs and the law, statutes, and commandments of the scriptures. The other one is not. That's why. They're the same people. But it's just that they're in two different customs.
If I could just say this, that would explain why Paul always used Grecian analogies to the Israelites over there. Yeah. Like fight.
Because they understood it.
They understood it. He understood the culture and the history. Yeah. So, like you said, he was qualified for the job. Was that it?
Hey, our people did the same thing in Egypt, man.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's why with Moses, you had those who were keeping the law and listening to Moses, but then you had those who started worshiping Egyptian gods, saying they were better off in Egypt. You know? Being a goddamn Egyptian, man.
It wasn't like they built pyramids and went home. They embraced the Egyptian culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same people.
You got it.
Same people here. But yeah, with that, y'all brothers had any closing statements? All right, with that, man, Lord will, brothers, you know, edified. I want to give all praises to
Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushua.
Double honors once again to our elders, the apostles of Great Millstone. And honors to you brothers who are out there doing the work in sincerity and in truth. Keep pushing. We almost out of here. You know, hey, keep pushing these prophecies, man, because real prophets going to prophesy. All right? In season, out of season. All right? With that, talk to America!
Talk to America!
Boom, Yahshua!
Boom, Yahshua!
Ba'Shem, Yahushua, Barakathon.
Shalom, man.